Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to this week's episode of The World of Gaming. And today we have a very special episode for actually two reasons. We have an amazing guest here today. Deadly Headley is joining us. How are you doing today, man? It's been so long since you've been on the podcast, and so I'm glad you're back.
Really, really good. Yeah, really glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me, and hi chat. It's been a little while, so yes, it's good to be back. Life is it's been a bit crazy since it was last year. I have another person to look after now. Became a dad just under 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Big changes, man.
Yeah, it's been very exciting, very, very tiring, but yeah, really, really nice.
I wish I could tell you it gets better, but it takes a year or two until it really gets better. No, man, I'm so happy for you guys. Okay. Glad the baby is okay, glad the mommy is okay, and that's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah, all right. Really good. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, so let me also welcome our awesome community here, of course. Big welcome to you guys. I see already a lot of familiar names here in the chat. The indie gamers in the chat, man. We haven't also had you on in a while. We need to talk about that, brother. And Dutch, my man, how are you doing today?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, I've just work, unfortunately. So
yeah.
Little time that I've had, I've been on some like low end games, that TG trading card game shop simulator or whatever it was, and then played a little bit of Age of Empires 2 as well. So that's my downtime recently. We'll talk about that.
Sweet. Yeah. Great, man. It's going to be an awesome show here today. A lot of things happened over the last 7 days. Major things, and we will definitely get into that. But I said we have two reasons why it's a special podcast here today, because Pyromed, one of our awesome community members, has provided me with a code to give away here on the show. It is a code for Dragon Ball Kakarot. So you guys can win that here today. We're gonna give that away to someone in the chat. Unfortunately, those who listen after the fact on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast won't be able to participate. But I want to welcome you guys as well. We have a growing community, especially on Spotify here, and that is absolutely fantastic. But everyone who's live here in the chat will be able to participate. I will remind everyone to just throw in hashtag Pyro in the chat, because Pyro gifted the whole thing. I want to say a big thank you to him. And towards the end of the show, we're going to draw the lucky winner then. But everyone can only enter once, obviously. So, all right. With that out of the way, guys, before we get into the news topics and everything, it is something we always do, Deadly, because the most important part in gaming are the games that we are playing. And we want to talk about those and open the podcast with that. So guys in the chat, let us know, what are you currently playing and what kept you busy over the last days and weeks?
Let Mr. Deadly go first.
Yeah.
Am I going first?
Please, go first.
Largely Arc Raiders.
Arc Raiders.
That has really struggled to put that down, to be honest. And actually walking away from that baby, child, dog and partner and going back to the real world of work. Not looking forward to it, because I'm going to miss all of those things, and Arc Raiders a hell of a lot. So yeah, been absolutely loving that. I've dipped in and out of quite a lot, sort of around Dark Raiders, but Arc Raiders is the game that is taking up most of my time. I have made a really good amount of headway through Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which I'm really enjoying. So gonna have to get back to that and finish that at some point.
Sweet.
Loving that.
Great game.
Yeah, you guys.
Except the combat.
You guys
I
played
hate the
finished
combat.
Oh god, yeah, the combat system is difficult to get used to for sure.
I never got used to it. After playing for 35, 40 hours, I still struggle with the combat. And could have been a masterpiece if it wasn't for the combat. Because at some point I hit a wall where, I mean, in the early and middle part of the game, you can basically finish every quest without fighting, except maybe one or two smaller ones. Yeah. And I always did that. And there's one main quest in the storyline that is a brutal fight, and I was just not able to beat that fight, and that's when I dropped out of the game, which is unfortunate because I love the world building, I love the questing, the storyline, and everything so much. But it's just the combat.
I feel you. It's brilliant in so many regards, but the combat is it's a difficult one to wrap your head around, and even more so to master. I'm definitely not there yet. And then this one, very, very new to this one, but it is because I don't know if we'll get onto this. I don't know if you guys want to discuss the Resident Evil Requiem reviews.
I've downloaded it. I haven't started it yet.
So it's the first Resident Evil I'm buying day one.
Okay.
I'm looking forward to it. I started Resident Evil 2 because I wanted a little bit of Leon lore and backstory. I think the only one that I've played and finished was actually the original Resident Evil 4 on the GameCube.
Okay.
So we're going back a really long
Which
way.
was my favorite.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it was.
Absolutely.
I remember enjoying it, but I also have really like hazy memories of it. So I think I've only played it the once. I've only finished it the once, and it was 25 years ago.
Yeah.
So going back a while.
You didn't play the remake that came out like 2 years ago or so?
I have the remake, but I haven't played it. But
that's exactly the same with me. I own it. Never played it.
So Okay, so I guess the other bit of news that I haven't talked about certainly on this podcast, but I haven't done many since building my PC was I now play on PC as well as console, which is awesome. And also even more recently, bought this little thing, Asus ROG Xbox Ally X, which I'm really liking too. So obviously since sort of building my PC and subsequently a library on PC as well.
Yes.
The Resident Evil games are going in the backlog. I'm going to try and catch up with them. But I don't know. There's something about Requiem that looks really great. I'm up for experiencing something new. I enjoy horror, but I don't necessarily play enough of it. Something else I did finish fairly recently. It was actually just after it came to Xbox. I played Silent Hill 2. It was another game I hadn't played. I didn't play the original, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. So obviously there's a lot of crossover in terms of the sort of especially with what I've played so far of Resident Evil 2 anyway, in terms of that kind of structure of survival horror, and very similar sort of mechanics and layouts and exploration sort of kind of patterns of going into a new place, exploring everything, figuring out some puzzles, killing some stuff, moving on. It's so I've had a really good time with that. I've had it's somewhat privileged because it's never really fun getting laid off, but I was laid off back in October. I now have a new role starting on Monday, which I'm really excited about, but that space has opened up room for me to play a hell of a lot of games, which I've been really glad for.
Nice.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I'm a big fan of Resident Evil. I've played them all, I think all day one. I also really enjoyed the remakes that they've put out over the last couple of years. Resident Evil 4, still my favorite. But Requiem really looks awesome, and it could be one of those that yeah, could reach the heights. So I've pre-ordered it, but since it's only like live for 3 hours now or so, I wasn't able to play it before the show. So I'll definitely do that after the podcast. Unfortunately, it's not Play Anywhere, man. I wish I hoped it would be,
That's a shame.
because I have the LE too, and I love it, and I play so much on it. That's unfortunate, but I'm really looking forward to Requiem, and I'm glad the reviews are great. Apparently, it also runs really well on the consoles. And so I'm super excited for that, man.
So which version have you gone for? Sort of on the topic of where do you play it? How do you play it? Which option
I
have you gone
bought
for?
the Xbox version.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very atmospheric game, right? And so I really do not play that much on my actual desktop PC, except for my strategy games like Age or something. But I play tons of games now on the LE. The LE has really changed my gaming habits. And I've talked to Dutch about that before, but I can't really tell you why, because I had the original ROG LE, like the 3-4 years old one. I had that as well. But I used that really only for like traveling and things like that. But the ROG Xbox LEX is, and I can't really pinpoint down why, but it led to the fact that I played that thing at home a lot. I played in bed, in the living room. It's just, I play so much on it, way more than I did on the OG LE. Maybe it's the handles with the grips. Maybe
it's very comfortable to use.
super.
I'll give it that much. So I've not used handheld before, not touched the Steam Deck, not tried the original Allies. But when I looked at the original Ally design, I did think, man, I don't know how comfortable that's going to be to play. And then
I can't really say it wasn't it was uncomfortable or something. But there's just something. Maybe it's the user interface. I still think the full screen experience needs a lot of work, but it somehow made the thing feel more like a console. Still not there yet, but definitely a big step in the right direction. Maybe it's the extended battery life, because that is what I enjoy the most, honestly, about it. Because the old one, like, you were really able to only play for 40 to 50 minutes, depending on the game, on battery. And now if you tune the settings a little bit, it's easy 3 hours. Of course, it's always depending on the game, but plus minus, which makes it an actual handheld. With the old one, you basically always had to plug in a charger or a power bank or something. And yeah, that's why I'm really enjoying that. But a game like Resident Evil Requiem, where, the atmosphere is absolutely key. I decided to play that then on the big screen, and that's why I got the Xbox version for it. Yeah. So cannot wait to do that over the weekend, man.
It's gonna be good.
I'm glad the kids are gone on Saturday, so I can spend the whole day.
But lights on, curtains open, or
curtains down. Dark in the room, headphones on, and then that's the way to play Resident Evil.
You go in, you don't
absolutely
handicap the horror experience.
No,
I'm all for it.
The full shit his pants experience.
We go all the way in. I think I'm going to be doing something similar. So I have got it on PC. But yeah, I'm with you. I wish it was Play Anywhere, just so I had the option to play it in the living room as well. I did, interestingly. So I don't know if you guys have tried this. Something Kay Asante brought to my attention a long time ago was like Sunshine and Moonlight. It's like a sort of software duo that you can use to stream your PC to other screens. So Sunlight is the hosting app that you would put on your sort of main desktop PC. Moonlight is something that you can download to. You used to be able to get it on smart TVs. I think you might be able to get it on the Steam Deck. You can definitely get it on the Ally. There is a native Moonlight app on the Series X, which means that I can use that app to stream my desktop PC to my TV. I tried it once and it worked really well. So I've got a wired connection going all the way to the house. It worked pretty well and it felt quite nice to use, but I need to tinker with it a little bit because I use an ultra-wide monitor upstairs and it basically kept that aspect ratio, thinking that my 4K TV downstairs was still
the big bars there. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. I'm quite interested because again, like, I'm with you on enjoying playing in the living room environment. I've got a 5.1 surround system downstairs as well. Like, it would be really nice to sort of play that full fat version in the living room as well. So I will try and sort of tinker with that and see if I can get that kind of streaming from my PC well to my living room. But similarly, like, I've got this gorgeous OLED model screen upstairs and headphones and again, dark room, and probably I can see myself tomorrow at some point while feeding the baby, just while she's asleep on me, I will just get my horror on. I'll use her for protection and comfort. Just like,
oh, it's okay, it's
not real. Smell the baby. Just smell the baby.
Love it. I mean, what I do use is the vice versa version to where I stream to the Ellie from the console. That also works actually pretty well if you are in the same Wi-Fi. Yeah, so when at home, the lag is really, depends of course on the game you play, but it's a little noticeable, but not really bothering. And I could see a game like Resident Evil Requiem, that it's not that fast-paced gameplay, actually work pretty well over a console to Ellie streaming, right? So maybe that's an option, but I think that's one of these games that you need to experience on the big screen. Yeah. All right, Dutch, what have you been playing lately, man? You mentioned Age 2.
Yes, a little bit more Age 2. Do you know when you just get in the mood for a bit of Age of Empires? And
yes. I've
always said, as much as I love Age of Empires 4, Age 2 still remains my king. I don't know why, it just does. It's probably a mixture of nostalgia for when I was younger, and it's obviously had its updated high res and high textures and all that malark over the years. So yeah, it's just my go-to. So again, just skirmishes. I always just skirmish against the computer and see how quickly I can wipe them out. And but yeah, just a bit of that. And then other than Age 2, I've been on trading card game, Card Shop Simulator, just to see what that was like, and House Flipper. So like really basic arse games. But it's like a bit like Power Wash Simulator. It's one of them weirdly addictive things to play. Especially House Flipper, because you just like get a house, clean it, demolish things, redo it, and then sell it on for a profit. And it's like just going in and decorating a house, adding things. You're like, there we go. See how much money I can make. And then aside from playing all these smaller indie games, again, handheld, been playing on the Switch too. Mixture of working my way through Hogwarts Legacy again for the third time, and Pokemon Scarlet, whilst we wait for the new one to be announced and see what that's all about. And obviously they've announced, that was another thing as well since our last podcast, they announced that the original Leaf Green and Fire Red are being released on Switch 2.
Yeah.
In normal versions for a very lowly price of £17 tomorrow. So nice and cheap, and a bit of nostalgia.
Yeah, I'm thinking about getting that for the kids, man.
Yes, yeah, it is. Like I say, it's all. Yeah, granted, it's not the old school graphics like the original Game Boy, but it's the more updated DS version that's been put onto the console. But it does include kind of the extended areas that were for special events and things like that in the past. So there was like special event areas that only happened if you had a certain thing, like a specific key that you were given at certain shops at a certain time in a like way in the past. And if you had the version on DS, for instance, over the last 5-10 years, no one could actually access that because it was a limited time event that happened in a shop decades ago. That nobody, unless you happen to go to the shop and get this particular code, you could go and do. So that's also included in it. So it's good that they've kind of brought it back out again. And of course, you get people complaining saying, "Oh, they should have just dropped it on Nintendo Online," but they wanted to make sure it was kind of a separate version that was separate from the online, so you could actually play the game without having an online subscription.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. And again, it's not like it's through the roof charging. It's $17, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's dirt cheap, so I don't mind. So I'll be picking those up, playing through those, and I don't know what the next big one is that I'm looking forward to. In all fairness,
Crimson Desert, bro. It's easy.
That's for you. I know that's for you. I just don't have my issue with the big open world games at the minute is I just don't have the time to invest in these big open world games.
Yeah.
With the smaller things like I say with Pokemon, it's I can pick it up, play for an hour, make a tiny bit of progress, knowing that there isn't like it's not going to take me decades to get to the end if I'm playing it in that frequency.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was, for instance, playing Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, I would probably never ever finish that game with the time that I'm putting into gaming at the minute.
Yeah.
So it's just a time sink, and I just don't have the time for big games. And I've got so many installed at the minute where I'm like, I'll get to that. I did eventually finish Keeper the other day.
Oh,
because I had the last. I was asking you as well. I think the last podcast we were on, how I'm up to this stage. How long is it? And I think it was another hour and a half that I had left. But no, fantastic game. Absolutely loved it. And again, without any form of verbal narrative, no vocal narrative. It was all just the image, as it were.
Yeah.
It was just a great story, great visual piece. And Double Fine doing what they do best. So I'm looking forward to seeing what their big project is after Kiln.
Yeah.
Keeper's another one I need to finish.
Yeah.
I've got loads of games to finish. It's just time, and there is just so much to play all the time.
Yes,
it's crazy,
and it doesn't stop. Especially this year, we have so much to play.
Yeah,
I've got a fun little indie game to recommend to both of you. Actually, it is on Gamepass. It's also on Xbox Play Anywhere, and it's only like £6 or £7 to buy. There's a game called Egging On. On Xbox and PC. Basically, you play. It's a physics-based puzzle game. You play an egg, and you have to sort of navigate your way up this sort of climbing structure. But if you fall down, you have to start over, and it's quite sort of punishing.
I've seen that. I've seen little gameplay segments posted online about that.
It's a lot of fun.
Came out like 5-6 months ago, right? Something like that.
Yeah. And there is like a casual mode on there. So there's like it's like a checkpoint mode basically where as you progress through, you'll unlock like a checkpoint, and then if you fall down to the bottom, you can call a drone, and it'll take you back up to where you were in like this little sort of egg box and carry on. But it's great. I highly recommend checking that one out.
Cool.
It's a good handheld game as well because it's a very light, very portable, very small game. Yeah, I'd recommend checking that out. It's
awesome.
Like a fun little indie if you're looking.
Is it kind of reminiscent of the old PlayStation 1 game called Cooler World? It was like a puzzle platform kind of game where you were a beach ball. Had to navigate to the end of the level, and then you got to a checkpoint, and then it had another level out. It was.
Without seeing it, I sort of want to say yes, but I need to. Is it Cooler World? Like COOLER?
KULA.
KULA.
Never heard of that either, man.
Oh, I remember it vividly from
Yes.
originally the demo discs. Yeah, is it
Very
similar to
similar. Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Very similar. I just remember it was just one of those things that stuck in your brain from playing on like the demo discs originally. I don't think anybody actually bought Cooler World. I think they all just played it on the PlayStation demo disc.
I will say it's less arcadey, so there's no like collectibles and things like that. But it's really cool. It's really cool, and it's on Game Pass, so it's pretty low risk in terms of like time, money, investment sort of thing. I'm just trying to find it. I think it is on sale at the moment as well.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm just checking. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a lot more open world than Cooler World.
Okay. Yeah. It's. I don't think it's so much level based. Like I think it is a continuous sort of level as you go and you sort of like climb up and get to these different areas and stuff. But it's what I will say is it is surprisingly rage inducing. Like it's not very forgiving in terms of things like timing and stuff like that. You have two ends of the egg. The as with any other normal chicken's egg, you've got like a pointier end and you've got the sort of kind of smoother, less pointy end. Jumping from the pointy end, you jump a bit higher and further. The sort of, I guess, the bottom of the egg, you sort of don't jump as far. So there's a little bit of kind of control and agency over, the amount of movement that you've got in this little egg. But yeah, I'd recommend checking it out for sure.
Okay. I will. Sounds.
And other than that, Boxy, after the last podcast, I did play a little bit more Ball X Pit.
Oh, good.
Another one I haven't tried yet.
Don't if you don't have time, don't start it because it is super addictive.
Dude, that's why I haven't played Bellator. So I can't.
I think I have 120 hours now in Ball X Pit.
Wow.
It's
impressive.
Super addictive. Dutch,
Nice.
How far are you, man?
I couldn't even tell you how far I am because I haven't. All I've done is I think I've unlocked like 3 characters, so I'm not like that
super
far.
Okay. You haven't seen anything of the game yet.
Definitely not level.
No.
I still think combined I've maybe played 5 or 6 hours total, but
I'm in New Game Plus 8 now.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm really enjoying the new characters that they've added. There was a big update for free 2 weeks ago or so, and they've added 2 new characters, and they are really good. They combine both really well with some of the existing ones, and it's absolutely fantastic. Still super addictive. So I've played that too much this week again.
The only way to really describe it is like it's a. What would you say? It's like Space Invaders-esque sim where you have to increase the size of your land. And
it's a roguelike Space Invaders mix thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
might download that on the handheld and I'll see
it plays really well on the Rocket. I played most of the 120 hours on the Alley. Yeah.
I've heard it's a handheld game for sure. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's one, if you've got to spare 5-10 minutes, you could easily play.
Yeah. One round takes you about 10 minutes, plus minus, and you can just jump in, play one round, and leave, or get addicted and don't stop for the next 6-7 hours. It's just that good. Yeah. Besides that, I have grinded a lot in Diablo 4 this week.
Nice.
I'm maxing out my paladin. Really
That's
fun character.
Class
That's a new class they've added, right? Exactly. And besides that, I've played a lot of Batman Arkham Origins actually on the Rock Alley, because that's one of I love the Arkham game so much, but Origins isn't available for digital purchase on the Xbox, and it's not in backwards compatibility, and it's like, so I haven't played that too much, but I bought it on the Steam sale over the Christmas period for, I don't know, $3 or so. And I've started that again. I think I'm halfway through now. And it's still one of the super underrated Arkham games. Origins is actually really good, even though it's not from Rocksteady. They've nailed the atmosphere. They have some of the best boss fights in any of the Arkham games in that game, and I'm having a blast with that, and it plays on maxed out settings on the Rock Xbox Alley X with 70 to 80 frames, which is absolutely awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so yeah, that was basically my playlist for this week, and now I'm going to dive super deep into Resident Evil. I cannot wait, man. But after the podcast or tomorrow. All right, guys. With that, let's get into some news before we start to talk about the big news of the week. Of course, let's briefly touch on a PlayStation topic. We got a release date for Wolverine. It's coming September 15th. They've announced the date and just the date, no trailer, no nothing. They just had the state of play like 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. Where it was absent. I was a little surprised that they then just randomly dropped the release date without.
It reminds me very much of what they did with God of War. They did exactly the same thing with God of War. They released an article saying, an article saying God of War Rebirth. It's God of War Ragnarok releasing this date.
Okay.
It's an article.
Weird. Can't remember that with God of War. I was just a little surprised. I would have at least expected like a trailer or something, and then at the end of the trailer, the release date. But man, I'm surprised it's already coming in September. I would have thought that is way more towards the end of the year. So, any thoughts on that?
Again, for me, it's more just the weirdness of PlayStation's way of announcing things at the moment. Like, there is absolutely zero enthusiasm from them for their IP or releasing their IP. It's weird. And I don't understand how they've essentially light switched their way from what they were in the PlayStation 4 time period to now.
Yeah.
Like, they were so hyper enthusiastic about their games and releases, and they made a big deal of their announcements and things like that, and now modern day PlayStation is just like, Wolverine's releasing in September. Like I said with Ragnarok, they did exactly the same thing. It was just, here's an article. Ragnarok's releasing.
I have heard the theory that maybe the release date was pushed out to sort of try and kill some of the bad news cycle from Bluepoint, but actually, I think Xbox did a pretty good job of killing it.
It's always a one-up. It's always a one-up.
Good old Microsoft making decisions right after Sony does this.
Yeah. No, I'm glad they finally finalized the release date, because I'm really looking forward to it. I love the Insomniac games, and the trailer that they've shown last year with the little gameplay snippets was exactly what I was hoping for, like a more gory kind of gameplay, more heavy feeling gameplay than the Spider-Man games, and I'm excited. I think it makes sense for them to release it in September, give a good head start to, I mean, that's basically kicking off the season, right? Because typically August we barely get anything, and so coming out middle September is good.
It's quite nice timing, actually, because you're right, like summer is pretty quiet, and I think September 15th it's technically middle September. I think it will feel quite early in the month. It's certainly early in the like autumn season. We got Fable due at the same sort of time as well. GTA 6 coming out November.
Middle of
That's
November,
always the
12th, I think 12th or something, November. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a busy like final quarter of the year. I'm excited for it. It's gonna be a lot to play, a lot to do.
Yeah, I think that also is probably one of the things where they thought, okay, let's put it out there, the date, September 15th, because basically all the other games that are scheduled for except GTA, of course, for the second half of this year, still don't have a date. There's, of course, all the Xbox or Microsoft games with Call of Duty,
all of them.
Gears, Fable. They are all supposed to release September, October, November, somewhere.
Don't forget Halo.
Halo, yeah, I still believe Halo is a June game.
That would be nice. That would be, because I think at the moment, if it does hit the 25th anniversary, that's Screwed McGreed versus GTA 6, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think I think the nice thing about the Halo campaign Evolved is it is a one and done. Like, whether you've played it before or not, like Halo is a pretty short campaign.
That's unless you want to play it through on multiple difficulties.
Exactly. Unless you're going to play it through with like multiple friends and stuff like that as well. But it's like it's a really fun linear experience where you know there's a pretty there's a very guaranteed endpoint. Whereas with GTA 6, like, so another game that I have been playing on my Ally is GTA 5. I've loved picking that up again and just playing through that on a handheld. There's something really novel about playing one of my favorite games, quite an open world game, a relatively demanding game, even though it is quite old now. It's like obviously running the enhanced edition and stuff like that. Running it a locked 120 FPS on the Ally again feels incredibly like novel, but it's it's cool, man. And like one of those, something like GTA, you can either follow the golden path and just do all the campaign stuff, or you can spend hours of your time just pissing around. Either way, I think a lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with that. To say the least.
Most of my time was spent pissing around.
Definitely. No, so it's gonna be a busy holiday season this year, but again, we don't have that many release dates yet, and so it makes sense for them to just plant their flag, and here we are with a good distance towards GTA, at least for them, right? Because that's gonna be interesting with all the other games that are scheduled for the second half. And let's see.
Well, at least, and now I suppose Xbox also know now, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So middle of September, we know to avoid, for instance, for releasing a Fable. It sounds daft, but Wolverine's, in terms of its IP name, is overtaking Fable, no matter what.
Oh, easily.
Month. Yeah, no matter what. So regardless of how good the game is, the sheer name weight of Wolverine
absolutely
carries that anyway. So I think for them it would be it's nice, I suppose, in the background, because they haven't definitively set a date on that yet, to be able to say, right, okay,
I still think
until afterwards or release it before it.
I still think that autumn 2026 is actually a bit of a risky move, because like, okay, so we've just talked about how like GTA, the time that you spend in GTA can basically be as little or as long as you want, depending on how much pissing around you want to do. Fable is going to have a very similar sort of scale to it in terms of, and you know, we saw that in the developer direct. Like, if you really want to like literally live your life in Fable and start families and buy loads of property and like really kind of invest your life into Fable, you can do. And I think that battle for time between a game like Fable, a game like GTA, they are, you know, releasing in the same sort of season. It's a difficult window to release two big games like that.
Absolutely. And they still have Call of Duty and Gears, which both are also time sinks. It's maybe Call of Duty, I mean, Call of Duty is a yearly release and it has its dedicated audience, but especially with Gears, that's also super time consuming. People will not just play the campaign. Gears is very much known for the multiplayer, where people will spend a lot of time in there. And like you said, and then there are of course other big games from third-party developers, publishers coming this holiday season as well. And so, yeah, I was surprised that they put it in the second half. Honestly, before the developer direct, I was arguing with Dutch that I would see it in April, maybe May. And I was surprised that Forza took the spot in May. That would have been a much better timing for Fable, because people have more time in May than they will have in the holiday season.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a risky move. So let's see. And that's why I think Halo is still June, and it's gonna be this year. I don't think we will get a dedicated developer direct for a game after the June showcase, like we had last year with Outer Worlds 2 and the year before with Call of Duty and Starfield and so on. I think they will have a dedicated show after the June showcase that is centered around the 25th anniversary. Like, this is Xbox. We will also probably get a tease for the next gen there. Yeah. And with that, they either release it directly that day or a week or 2 weeks later in June to celebrate the 25th anniversary, even though it's not the 25th, because that's in November. But November is, you can't really do much in November because GTA is going to take all the discussions up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am imagining the day that GTA comes out, I'm not going to see any cars on the road. It's going to be somewhat apocalyptic. I think we're going to see a record number of people taking either annual leave or sick days.
Absolutely.
It's a zeitgeist level cultural event, isn't it? And I think it will take all of the oxygen away from everything else.
Absolutely. And that's why I think me neither. But that's why I think Xbox will kick off the 25th anniversary with the June showcase and a dedicated show afterwards, and then have something like spread out over the rest of the year in memory of that. But I think the big thing is after the June showcase. But it's pure speculation on my end. All right. There was a weird noise now. Like,
I think it was just the springs on my
spring on there.
All right. Mount.
All right. Guys, before we talk about Xbox, and we'll get to that in a second, I want to remind our awesome community here that we have a giveaway here today that was gifted by Pyromad. We've got a code for Dragon Ball Kakarot. So drop in the chat hashtag Pyro if you want to enter. We will draw the winner a little later. So yeah, if you're interested in a Dragon Ball code, please do that, and good luck to everyone. Guys, let's get into the big news. If you haven't been living under a rock over the last week, here's what happened. Last Friday, Microsoft announced that Phil Spencer is going to retire. Sarah Bond is also leaving the Xbox team. Or do we know actually if she leaves the company? I'm not sure.
I think she's resigned.
Resigned at
entirely.
Least, yeah. And Asha Sharma is going to take over Xbox, and of course, in the gaming space at least, she wasn't really known, right?
And Matt Booty's being promoted.
And Matt Booty is being promoted. Lots of stuff happening at the same time, yeah. And now after this announcement, we got different statements and emails to the staff, in email or blog posts to the public. Asha Sharma said a lot of things like we will take risks, we will not treat games as static IP to milk the and monetize. She said we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art, stuff like that. A lot of discussions were going on. In the meantime, we already got a little bit more info because Jess Corden had a big interview with Asha and Matt, who is now Chief Content Officer. Don't really know what the difference is in between his previous role and this one, but good for him. It's a big promotion. But yeah, and we will dissect, of course, the interview because there's a lot of different aspects in there that have been covered. We also had a big report from Tom Warren, who talked to a lot of employees about Sarah Bond. We'll also get into that. But now, before we do that, guys, what is your sentiment? How you feel about that? Because I see people react in a very, very different way here, right? Some are super afraid because Asha has AI background. She doesn't really have gaming background. Others look forward to change. Very different feelings. So where do you guys stand? What do you guys make of this change here? Deadly, let's start with you.
Pretty mixed. I think first and foremost, I think Phil largely changed Xbox for the better.
Absolutely.
And made some really, really positive strides, especially after the
Xbox One launch,
Don Matrick era, and the decisions that were made there. I'm naturally quite an optimistic person, for better or worse. So I do hope that this brings about positive change. My mindset is still very much, let's wait and see what she actually does, because words are one thing, but actions are going to speak much, much louder. And I'm interested to see how some of those things manifest. I've pulled up her kind of initial message. So this came up before. Yeah. So basically, like the messaging that came out as part of the announcement of the regime change. And then I think the thing that sort of stood out to certainly all Xbox fans and the majority of gamers who are, interested in the changes and what's going on here, what the story actually is. She's made 3 quote unquote commitments to Xbox and its players. The first is great games, which I think they're already doing. They just need to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And I do think that in the last few years we've seen a really positive change in terms of the amount of content, the quality of content coming from Xbox. It feels like that is moving in a positive direction.
Absolutely. Yeah.
The second one, quote unquote, the return of Xbox, and I'll read this verbatim. We will recommit to our core Xbox fans and players, those who have invested with us for the past 25 years, and to the developers who build the expansive universes and experiences that are embraced by players across the world. We will celebrate our roots with a renewed commitment to Xbox, starting with the console, which has shaped who we are. It connects us to the players and the fans who invest in Xbox, and to the developers who build ambitious experiences for it. Gaming now lives across devices, not within the limits of any single piece of hardware. As we expand across PC, mobile, and cloud, Xbox should feel seamless, instant, and worthy of the communities we serve. We will break down barriers so developers can build once and reach players everywhere without compromise. A lot of that is actually not new, especially the part about not committing to a single piece of hardware. And I do, like, obviously they are doing PlayStation ports as well, but that sort of language around not committing to any single piece of hardware, I think largely speaks to what they're doing across PC, mobile, cloud, etc. But obviously they are also still publishing on another platform as well. I guess we'll circle around to the sort of not necessarily nuanced discourse, but it's sort of a different level of discourse versus, the original statements have been made. And the third is the future of play. And there's a few sort of weird lines here, but I do understand what she's trying to get to here. The sort of we're quote unquote witnessing the reinvention of play. I sort of think I know what that means, but I think, as with all of these, there's a lot of corporate jargon hiding some of the more meaningful parts of those statements. I think that when they're talking about the reinvention of play, I think they're having that sort of feels like they're still trying to wrestle with the fact that things like social media and TikTok and there's some other stuff that was mentioned and referred to, but we won't go down that. There's a lot of reasons why people aren't gaming, and it's because they're distracted by other stuff. And I think that is still a challenge that the industry broadly faces. That's not just an Xbox problem. If PlayStation was content with the amount of hardware that it is sold and was confident that Bluepoint would be able to service those users, Bluepoint wouldn't have been closed. And instead we've got this challenge of the amount of money that games cost to make, the amount of money that you kind of need players, money and time that players have to invest back in. And if those two things don't line up, that's when we start seeing studios in trouble. And this challenge that the broader industry is facing, which is why we've seen layoffs across the industry, obviously not just at Microsoft, not just at Sony. I don't think that's going away. And that is something that I think they have acknowledged. I just don't think they've not come up with a solution for it. They've basically just gone, we're going to have to work out what that is.
Yeah. And that's true.
Yeah. And I think the return to Xbox One, the other sort of part of that, the other sort of significant one of those three commitments. I want to know what you guys think that means for you. But again, with the context of the reality of the industry, we can have this conversation about exclusives all day long, whether or not they're good.
I think.
Go on.
See, that was the only statement to me that didn't make sense in the grand scheme of things. Because to recommit specifically to Xbox is to recommit to an idea that is now outdated in their plans. So you can't recommit to an idea that you've outlawed, which is what they've done. They've said, no, we're not doing the focus on Xbox.
Yeah.
Everything is now an Xbox. Everything is, you can play everything everywhere. So the only aspect is, we're going to recommit to Xbox because we're releasing console. But by just releasing a bit of hardware doesn't mean you're recommitting to Xbox. That's all you're doing is just releasing a bit of hardware. Steam can do that. It doesn't mean they're committing to releasing a Steam Deck or, we're fully in on the handhelds because we've released a single bit of hardware, but that's not quite what it means.
But I don't think that's what she addressed with that statement. I think I
don't think it addresses anything, though. I think the issue is that it doesn't really say what it wants to say.
See, the thing is,
I don't think recommitting to I don't think it means anything. I think the wording around it, recommitting to Xbox, I don't think that means what she hopes it means and what would get people's hopes up, because those who have significantly invested in the ecosystem, the only thing that means is, okay, in the next Xbox you're going to be able to play your back catalogues. Fantastic. So those people who have invested in Xbox over the years, we're not going anywhere, is kind of the only bit of nuanced thing that is in there, and we're going to continue to make hardware. But realistically, they could have just said, like, recommitting to Xbox as a platform because the hardware isn't going anywhere, as opposed to recommitting to Xbox and then leaving it kind of, and then opening the discussion by saying, that it is going to be on all devices and it's not going to be a singular ecosystem and things. It's like kind of chasing its own tail in the jargon.
See, that's why Jess Corn had this big interview, and credit goes out to the Windows Central team and him specifically doing that interview. Let me give some context, because that was exactly the debate people were having when she, on Friday, respective Saturday, she said all these things. And he was asking her about what she actually meant with that. And maybe I'm just briefly going to read her statement, and because I think that's giving a little bit more context on what she meant with what does a return to Xbox and the commitment to Xbox actually mean for her. What did she mean with that? She said the following: for me, the spirit of return to Xbox is about returning to the spirit that the team was founded on. It's that spirit of surprise. It's the spirit of building something nobody else was willing to try. I've heard renegade, rebellion, and fun used internally. That's what I was thinking about when I wrote that. I think that our core Xbox fans and players have invested up to 25 years of themselves in these universes and our console. I want to make sure everybody knows I'm committed to Xbox, starting with the console. We're going to keep meeting players where they are. The world continues to evolve and change. We are going to make sure Xbox is a great place for developers and players. We want to invest in reducing the artificial divide between different types of devices that they want to use with us. I think that's going to mean a lot more investment in breaking down the barriers, in helping developers build once and show up across different hardware experiences. For me, I believe Xbox starts with its fans and will grow from there. That's what I wanted to signal with the return to Xbox. And now, if I read those lines, I think it means basically two things. I don't think it means return to console exclusivity per se.
No,
yeah?
Definitely not.
No way. Especially the part where it says we're going to keep meeting players where they're at. That is verbatim the kind of language that Phil Spencer was using when challenged on, games going to PlayStation and stuff.
And I mean, the thing is, we all know it's the worst kept secret in the industry right now, right? That the next Xbox console will actually run on Windows. And that's basically what is in there. Yeah, we are meeting players where they are because Windows is on everything, right? You have the developers only need to build once the PC version, and then it's available across all these devices. It breaks down barriers. Yeah, you don't have the Xbox Store and Xbox OS and version for a game, and things like Resident Evil Requiem, which we talked about earlier, right? That are not play anywhere. You have to choose where to play. That's the writing on the wall. We know that, and I think that's the main part that she aligns here. But what she also emphasizes here in this interview and in her statement previously is a stronger recommitment to the actual console hardware. And I think that is something, when you look back on what Xbox was founded on, Xbox was this rebellious group within Microsoft, right? But they changed a lot of things with the Xbox, the OG Xbox, and especially then with the Xbox 360 was the first console with a proper hard drive in it, right? Online gaming was basically introduced through them. I know the Dreamcast, come on guys, it was basically that things like the achievement system and everything, that was all stuff that got introduced by Xbox and changed the console landscape with that. Think that spirit to do something nobody has done before, to not have a console with sole exclusive games for that particular hardware, but to open that up through having actually Windows running on a console and having multiple storefronts on a console and so on, is this renegade spirit again, right? that she refers to. Now, that's all not her idea, right? Those decisions
Yeah.
have been made
That's good for
way before that. But what is she supposed to say after one day in the office, right?
The thing.
That's
The thing
the
that
thing.
I've only got with these statements, though, is that it's
one thing to finish up my point. I think what at least gives me the hope is I'm still not a big fan of this idea. Everything is multiplat, because in the end of the day, we are not getting enough competition through that. No. It devalues the value of a console, and it leaves the console space basically to Sony alone. And that is my big fear with this. I think it's way too short-sighted to say, well, it helps players if they can play Forza also on PlayStation and so on. I don't think so. It's a short-term side of it, because at the end of the day, it diminishes what drives the industry forward, and that is competition. However, I've come to acceptance with this, because I cannot change it anyway, and it's the way going forward. And I really like the idea of the next Xbox having a Windows and having access to Steam and so on. I like that idea of a more open platform per se. And maybe because especially with Sarah Bond as the head of Xbox hardware and so on, it really felt to console gamers, hey, we don't give a shit anymore about the console. And maybe she will find a way to give the community again the feeling that the console is important, even though we are running this open platform. This hardware, this ecosystem is important to us. It is important for us, for you to buy a console, and there's a reason to buy that console, because this is the kind of messaging that Xbox has been lacking, and it gives the community, the gamers, the feeling Xbox really does not care anymore about hardware. And this is the sentiment. And maybe I'm just reading things into her statements, and maybe it's wishful thinking, because I like console gaming. I want the competition in the console space. I don't want everything to be a PC per se, but if Xbox can combine the best of those two worlds, and they haven't been able, because this is also not a really new idea for them now. We've had this writing on the wall for years now, and everything that was done under Phil and Sarah Bond in the last 2 or 3 years, ever since basically the ABK acquisition, was messaging to console gamers, we don't care about you anymore. And this is the glimpse of hope that I had from her initial statement. Hey, I'm not turning the back on the more open platform, on a revolutionize things in the console space, but I'm definitely willing to commit more towards console. Yeah, sorry for the long
I think for me, you were kind of touching on something I was going to speak about there. I think a statement is more just a reworded version of where the company was already heading, to try and appease to people. Okay, we're going to recommit to Xbox's hardware, but realistically, they already had hardware plans in the works.
Yeah.
The other side of that argument as well is, without, as you mentioned, the exclusivity debate, and why that is actually still a benefit to have exclusives, is to have competition. And it doesn't mean that every game has to be exclusive, and I understand them being the requirement for multi-platform to get more people out there, but there are certain things in certain IP that should drive forward what the platform is, in order for people to know, okay, this stands out. Not just it can play everything because it is now a PC.
Yeah.
Because the other side of that argument is, because it is now a PC, the pricing is also going to match that of an intro PC cost. And then you've got a whole nother argument to have.
Yeah.
Because, yes, you might be investing in the console, but if that console is starting at $1,000, for instance, that's already alienating a massive portion of that core Xbox user base.
Yeah.
That is now gone. It is gone because a lot of the portion of that user base cannot invest into that new platform. That is way beyond their pricing level.
It
which
feels
is what
like
they
only
tried to
the
keep in place with the S.
hardcore of the hardcore
Exactly.
are gonna go for something like that. And like I'm in that camp. I
Yeah.
I can't wait for that box. I'm really, really excited about the prospect. It sort of goes back to solving some of the challenges that me as a modern gamer who just wants to enjoy the stuff I own in different places gets to navigate. So Resident Evil Requiem, I've bought it on PC. I do want to play it in a living room environment. The only option I have immediately to me is to stream that if I want that to the best of my ability. Xbox's new box is going to tear all of those barriers down for me, but at what cost? It sort of feels like if that's the only option, if they're only going for a PC hybrid and they're not doing the traditional sort of locked down walled environment of a console anymore, because that's more work for devs for them to do, an Xbox Series X2 version, for example, as well as a PC / Play Anywhere version. I do think that Series X is going to be supported for a long time, as is PS5. Like I think we still get the occasional PS4, Xbox One port, but they're basically non-existent now. I think the PS5 and Series Gen are going to go a lot further, purely because they're so much more expensive now than they were when they first launched. And I think that user base is still very substantial. Like there are customers to be served on those platforms. For me, the recommitment to Xbox. So I think, first of all, what Asha Sharma's statements do is effectively acknowledge that there are issues with Xbox that need solving, which is good because we've known that for a while. I think so I know a lot of you guys might have seen the video I put out on the Xbox ad that this is an Xbox ad, and I was quite positive on it for the reason of being able to sell the ecosystem in a way that Microsoft hadn't tried to sell that ecosystem before. But the loudest and most valid criticism I heard from sort of about that ad was that it feels like they are quote unquote moving away from console. At the time,
my main criticism for that, believe it or not, was not that they were moving away from console. It was that Xbox have got this really bad habit of saying something and advertising something before it's actually possible.
Yeah.
And the issue with
that too.
Before this is why I kept like bringing it up all the time, is because it was like you'd see adverts everywhere and it was like, this is an Xbox, and I'm like, well, the item that I'm watching this advert on now is definitely not capable of playing this. I had I've got a really, because my TV downstairs got damaged ages ago and I still haven't replaced it. I've got like this hand-me-down 1080p old Sony thing that has no smart things in it at all. No USB ports or anything. It's just basic HDMI, can play at 1080p. It's terrible. An advert pops up on there and it says, this is your Xbox. You're like,
it's not without X, Y, and Z. So I think that I think that what they should have done after that ad campaign is then followed up with stuff that was more console centric, and I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that they did. So and again, I come from an advertising background. I used to work for a very, very big global advertising machine, and I think my biggest criticism sort of following this launch of what I in the industry would call a brand platform. This is an Xbox that sort of that look and feel, that kind of attitude and sentiment that they're sort of portraying outwards. It feels like the start of a new brand platform, and what they didn't do was celebrate their hardware that you can buy as part of that brand platform. They dropped that one ad and they went, fuck it, we're not going to communicate anymore about it. That's it. We're not gonna. Okay. So I guess I'll go into this now because I've left the company. But so the company that I used to work for, Again, big advertising presence across the globe. They have several offices in the UK. When I found out that my redundancy was coming, I had the opportunity to apply for other roles within the UK. And one of them that I applied for, I didn't get because it doesn't directly align with the type of design experience and expertise that I have. I am a designer, but I work on I'm a UX UI designer. I was known as a digital designer, so I can design, but I'm very much more in the sort of interactive user experience, user interface space.
Yeah.
And basically, I went for a senior designer role with the London office for the company that I used to work for. Do you know who is a client of that agency?
If you ask like that, it's
It
probably
is
Xbox.
obviously Xbox. And I remember approaching that team and saying, "Hey, I've got some ideas and some thoughts on, how you could move this forward." I worked with my creative director to get some sort of ideas in place, but because of timing and the nature of the changes that the business I was working with, because they merged with another company, a lot of that never saw the light of day and never even got pitched. But some of the concepts that I came up with following the This Is an Xbox campaign were how you would actually advertise your hardware. So you could one sort of line of thinking that I had was, if you take this idea of This Is an Xbox, but you put your hardware and only your hardware front and center during that, and you can go, this is our most powerful Xbox, this is our most affordable Xbox, this is how quick resume works, this is Gamepass, and you sort of celebrate all of those functions that come as part of the hardware. We never saw an ad campaign like that could have quite easily and probably quite successfully followed up the same This Is an Xbox brand platform, but instead they just dropped an advert that goes, "Yeah, you can play this everywhere now," and then they never they stopped that commitment to advertising their hardware. The other thing that they didn't do, and again, this was sort of part of the kind of, basically I had some downtime at work about a year ago now, and I came up with some concepts to pitch to the Xbox team, but we never got them in front of the team. But another concept for me would have been actually celebrating and advertising the type of content that you can get on Xbox. So Indiana Jones was an IP that made a huge splash about a year ago. There were so many other games on that platform at the time that they could have advertised, and they could have put out some really great ads and comms to celebrate all of those things. They just didn't. It feels like all of the comms post This Is an Xbox really either didn't exist or were very, very half-assed. And then the only other bit of sort of communication and marketing that we got around that same brand platform was advertising the ROG Ally X. And I guess to all of the hardcore console fans because there are people on the Xbox platform who aren't interested in the Play Anywhere stuff. They're not interested in the PC stuff because they just want a closed box that they can play their games on, and they want it all plug and play. And that's fine, because most console players are still in that environment because they want to be, or because they don't want to spend the money on PC, or they just don't want to deal with like faff that comes with PC or whatever. And those people, in the eyes of themselves and to somewhat degree, if not entirely, Microsoft, have been quote unquote forgotten about. They have to get back to making those players feel like they're important, because I think that's probably one of the major challenges that they have at a community sentiment level. Console players don't feel like they're important anymore. I had an exchange with someone on Twitter, and I asked him what he thought the commitment to console looks like. And for him, it was, I will talk about why I don't think these work, but I guess when I think about someone who I know really, really wants those old days to come back, I think of this person. And what he said to me was exclusives, quality ones with regular cadence, reason to make people choose Xbox, competitive pricing because $1,000 box isn't going to sell. They need to get some industry acclaimed must-play titles. The Game Awards suck, but unfortunately people go nuts over it. He also said he thinks that Game Pass needs to go away, make buying games the primary focus again, go back to the gold model and put first-party games on there a year or 18 months ago after the fact. The Game Pass point, I think, is an interesting one, but the rest of it, I don't think is going to happen. I don't think you're going to get exclusives back because they tried that. They've. Do you really want to roll that dice again? Because if it doesn't work, what happens next?
Yeah, that's the thing.
And I also
exclusive
think
only
the
makes
same
sense
thing
if
with
your install base. Pardon, sorry.
I was going to say that also the same thing with the, as you mentioned there, you're not going to get the exclusives back, but also because they're moving on to this, the model of the type of console that they're having, which is this hybrid, which is definitely going to cost more. Definitely going to cost more. The plug-and-play players, which is the original core, the people who just want to come in from a long day's work, press the button, it's on, it plays. They'll be like, I'm not spending 900 to 1,000 for a plug-and-play item that I used to spend half of that on.
Yeah.
And therein lies a problem. Like you say, you don't have the exclusives, so then what's the reason to invest in something so expensive? And then it is so expensive, and that's kind of the reason I invested in a console in the first place, because PC is such an investment. It is a significant investment. In order to spend the same equivalent money on an Xbox as you would on an actual good PC, you would have to buy the Xbox, all of its accessories, and about a dozen games, and that would cover the cost of what a PC would be from the off. Now you're asking people to invest in a box prior to getting the games, and you're already halfway to the cost of an actual full-fledged PC. And it's like, that's a big investment considering there isn't anything jumping out that's asking me to invest in it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big question about the unique selling point of that future Xbox, right? If it is basically a PC, why not directly invest into a PC? Especially if the pricing argument isn't really there anymore. And the thing is, the business idea of the console was never to sell the console; it was to sell the store.
Yeah.
The idea is the store that
they were subsidized so that you could
exactly
make money
elsewhere. The hardware itself is the necessary thing you have to do in order to sell a unique store. But so if they open up to Steam, if they open up to Epic Games and all these other storefronts, right? What's the business model behind it? And of course, all this comes together then into the question: okay, what is the unique selling point of this console? Why would someone buy it in large scale? And I don't think that they are trying to do that anymore. Right, that is the idea. The Steam Deck hasn't even sold 10 million units and is still considered a massive success. Right, if you would think about a PlayStation or a Nintendo console or an Xbox console, in the traditional sense, that would only sell like 10 million units, you would consider it a massitive failure, right?
Well, catastrophic failure in modern days.
Absolutely. So I think this whole idea is going to change with that. Now, on the thing with exclusives, if they would have the high install base, the PlayStation 5 is approaching 100 million units, right? The Switch 2 is selling gangbusters. The Switch 1 became the most selling Nintendo console just 2-3 weeks ago, right? Closing in on almost 150 million units. If you would have that kind of numbers, of course, exclusivity makes more sense. But Deadly, you mentioned it earlier, since AAA gaming costs these days so much more than it did like 10, 15, 20 years ago. You kind of have to find a way to make that return of investment. You can't do both. You can't do AAA gaming, a Fable is now in development, right, for 9 years. It's 9 years of development costs. I don't know, but I'm guessing at least 200 to 300 million that this game cost to make over the course of 9 years. Now, if you only have like 30, 35, 40 million units out there, and with that only like 35 million potential customers, and only like 10% of your people, of your customer base is buying that game, it's not a business case anymore. And of course, that's why they succeeded. But you could also argue, why do they only have like this slow or small install base? It's because for a very long time they didn't really have the games to ship or sell the console on, right?
I want to interject there a little bit on the why they've got that part. I think despite Phil Spencer's best efforts following Xbox One to get Xbox back on, despite his best efforts, and which they did with the Xbox One X and onwards, console-wise, despite their best efforts in order to drive people back to them with exclusive games, with more content, focusing on games and not TV, despite trying to correct the issue, the damage that the initial launch of the Xbox One did to Xbox in general, despite all of their best efforts, was that severe, going from 90 million plus consoles in 360 down to 50 million plus consoles in Xbox One, and now barely hitting that, or even getting close to that, and at the end of its life cycle for the Xbox Series, despite having two models that are entirely different, one being lower, one being larger, despite their best efforts, it's continued a downward trend because of the damage done on the initial launch of the Xbox.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think they are going to bring back that exclusivity per se anymore. I mean, they haven't done really console exclusive since Quantum Break, and that was like 10 years ago, right? With that, they ever since they launched every so-called exclusive, they won on PC as well, right? So also that idea of not having exclusives is particularly new. The new thing is that it also comes out on the other consoles, right? And since I thoroughly believe that they are not aiming to sell 50, 60, 70, 80 million units with the next Xbox, I don't see that Asha is going to turn that exclusivity ship per se around, right? But I'm fully with you, Deadly. What they can try to find, because this is what they've lost over the course of the last 2 or 3 years, is make those who do invest in console hardware, even though it's basically a PC, make them feel valued again.
The exclusivity line is a really difficult one to walk. So I remember saying on our friend Septic Source with Gaz's show over a year ago now, I think, the exclusivity moves that Xbox are making, I don't think they're good for Xbox, but they are good for the games that they're making. I think Fable is only going to benefit from having a broader audience. I think Halo Campaign Evolved being introduced to a new set of users, I think that's quite an exciting thing for Halo. I don't necessarily think it's a brilliant thing for Xbox the console maker, but Xbox the games publisher, Xbox the platform holder, Xbox the company whose primarily, like, their primary objective is to sell games. It's not to sell consoles. They want to sell you the consoles so that you can buy the games with them, but they also have to sell the games, as they have been doing to Steam users, as they're now doing to Nintendo users, and they're now doing to PlayStation users. I do think that timed exclusivity is a lever that they could still pull. I've said on like the content that I make on YouTube, I think that some of the like future Master Chief campaign content, I think that should stay exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem and the Xbox platform. I think it's a flagship title that Xbox needs people to keep investing in. But at the same time, we've seen Halo's relevance fall off a cliff. We saw Halo Infinite struggle to keep its player base, largely because it launched unfinished. to be kind to it,
absolutely
unfinished.
finished.
And I think that, you know, if you're releasing a Halo game, I wonder if all multiplayer content going forward is multi-platform day one, because I think that benefits the broader Halo audience, including those on other platforms, because they'll have more people to play with. Maybe campaign content, especially anything that is a continuation of something that Xbox players have been playing for years, rather than being newly introduced to the IP via a remake of the first game. I wonder if timed exclusivity makes sense there, or if, I mean, we don't even know what's going on with Halo. The mishandling of Halo is definitely my biggest criticism of Xbox across the board. Like
and I think that is also part of this problem, that it is so unclear what the strategy is. This game comes out day one, the next game comes 6 months later, others stay exclusive. It is this really weird messaging where gamers really don't know where they are. I think there is also a part where you could definitely improve. Forza now coming in May, and somewhere later on PlayStation, other games.
I think the Forza thing where you just discussed there, and that popped in my head before. I 100% believe that they had the Xbox version ready. PlayStation wasn't quite, and instead of delaying one of them, they just went, right, the Xbox One's good, the PlayStation One needs a little bit more work. We don't have anything that's releasing at this first half of the year, despite having all these games. So let's release the Xbox version now, and when it's ready for PlayStation, we'll just release that then. I don't think it was intentional. I think if they had something that was ready for the beginning side of the year,
I mean, that's
just pushed them both.
But I still think that you could handle that a little bit better. And now you could argue, okay, they are still in this transition phase. Maybe Forza Horizon 6 didn't start as, or was planned originally for it to come to PlayStation, and they been told that a year ago, or I don't know when. Hey, you need to start a PlayStation version as well, and that's things don't align all the time. I agree with that, but I still believe that this whole strategy was so weirdly thrown out. It started with the 4 games and the promise it's only the 4 games, and then they've added this game and that game, but not this one, and to this day we don't have a clear messaging on, hey, our intention is to bring everything to everything, right? We don't have that. It's still this case by case thing, and it is. I don't think that this helps the general sentiment of Xbox, because that's what people feel like. Are we still valued? What are we getting? We have no idea what they are doing. We don't know their strategy. We don't know what I'm buying into. And I think, especially if you launch the next gen, and we all expect this to be a significantly more expensive experience, right? Just for the sake of argument, let's say this will cost $1,000. You will have to have good arguments and a clear vision and strategy on why would I invest $1,000 into this ecosystem. If I get the same thing on on PlayStation and the same games on Steam or wherever, why would I buy it here? What is it that I'm getting? Which games will I be able to play? Which games will I also be able to play anywhere else? That people can make an informed decision. And I think this is really one part where the messaging has not been good for the last 2-3 years now.
Another issue as well you've got there is they're saying, obviously we're going to do the whole multi-platform approach, and even during the acquisition arguments and things like that, they're saying, oh no, we're going to bring everything to everywhere, including Call of Duty and Nintendo Switch and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
I've yet to see a singular Xbox title that has been announced announced for the Nintendo Switch 2. Not a singular game, not one.
Yeah.
That's despite all
Indiana Jones
just
Cherry Circle.
Yeah.
Just.
But not so much day one, where we've got Requiem is on there day one now. We've got Pragmata's on there day one. A lot of the big third-party publishers are now going to switch day one. The issue we've got there is this whole multi-platform approach that Xbox are doing, when you can play all games everywhere, but you can't, because outside of Indiana Jones, as you mentioned, which is only just going there in the coming weeks or months, there is no other game that has been announced, whether that be Forza, whether it be Fable, whether it be anything else. None of the big games that they've announced are going to Nintendo Switch. Not even Call of Duty, which is one of the ones that he argued about. They were like, oh no, we're going to be creating the game and we're going to be putting it on Nintendo Switch. And like, nope, nothing, nada. So it's not really an all ecosystem, we're putting everything everywhere approach. Again, messaging falling down here. If you're going to do an it's going everywhere, then it has to go everywhere. Don't say it's going everywhere and then it only goes somewhere.
What I meant, and not a case-by-case thing. And,
I think that largely does fall down to where they are in the development process, though. That's it's like with Fable is going day and date because there's enough time and space for that to be facilitated, whereas with Forza Horizon 6, it's so close to the finish line that they've gone, we'll roll it out ASAP, and then they've used because it's done so well on PS5, we're going to bring it over. Nah, bollocks. You already entertained that. You'd entertained that way before you saw how well it was doing. So
absolutely.
And I think actually that kind of that breakdown of exclusivity, I think, is a real mistake for I'm still in two minds as to whether or not I think that is a mistake, but I think that the misstep that's been made by Xbox is that conflation between a game going everywhere. It's everywhere on the Xbox platform, but it's also everywhere in the more literal sense. And I reckon there's a little bit of work to do to go, which I think is actually where timed exclusivity might come back into play, where you've got it's on all of the Xbox platform, like anyone who's invested into our ecosystem, you're getting this first. PlayStation players, Switch players, you're getting this 6 months to a year later. And I think if they keep that consistent, I don't necessarily think it's a potent enough reason to say to a PlayStation player, fuck it, you may as well just buy the Series X, because I think so the other side of the exclusivity coin is, so me who's played on Xbox since the original console and has loved playing on that platform, buying all my games there. It's the primarily place that I play, and that in a lot of ways has followed me to PC as well, because I'm still using the Xbox app over there. I'm still benefiting from things like Play Anywhere, Gamepass, etc. I have a PS5 that barely gets used, and I will only use it when there is a game I can't play anywhere else on it. There's an argument for that being a reason for people to buy a PS5, but if they're not using it and they're not actually putting any money Sony's way on a regular basis, how much is Sony getting out of them other than a Wolverine sale or a Spider-Man sale? It's not doing much for that platform other than, I've got this box, I'll occasionally turn it on, I'll spend a bit of money to play a game there, and I'll turn it off until there's another game that I want to play. Whereas with Xbox, I'm a much more valuable customer to them because I'm using their system and paying into their ecosystem via things like Game Pass and stuff, and I'm more likely to buy games there. There's exclusivity doesn't necessarily benefit the platform holders to that extent if PlayStation isn't getting that much money out of me, the user.
I think you're not the normie here.
Yeah, exactly.
See, that's the thing. These hardcore gamers like us who do have everything. I have also the PS5 and the Switch and the ROG Xbox Ellie and a gaming PC and everything. Who has that? In the grander scheme of things, barely anyone has that. And you make an informed decision. You get one console. Which is it? And you see, okay, on this console I get Spider-Man and Wolverine and God of War and Last of Us. On this one, I get Halo, Forza, Gears, Fable, this stuff. But now all of those games turn up there. What's the normie going to do? I'm with you. I'm very similar like you. I use the PlayStation 5 only for the few exclusives. Turn it on once or twice a year to play the 2 games that I want to play, right? And then they are not really making the money back that they had to put into R&D to make the console and to run the ecosystem and everything. But that's not the normie. The normie has one console and makes this decision on a different train of thought than probably the 3 of us do and most of our community here does, because
I think the other challenge is that, and this is something that again Phil Spencer has acknowledged on, I think it was on a podcast with Kind of Funny, in that like digital libraries and digital ecosystems are keeping players where they are too. So
exactly,
I think like there's definitely an argument for normies not necessarily wanting to start a digital library all over again. But if they do decide to make that leap, or they do go, screw it, I'm buying a PlayStation this gen, and then they see all those Xbox games coming over, there's a pretty good chance that they will say to themselves, fuck it, I won't go back to Xbox then. If I've done that change, I have started buying my games on another platform and it is working for me. How is Xbox supposed to win them back?
Yeah, that's exactly the thing, right?
You could make Game Pass as sweet as you want, but if they've already bought the platform and they've gone, no, I'm quote unquote switching this gen.
Yeah,
it's
maybe we can.
And this is the issue as well with the higher costing unit as a console idea as well. Is we've kind of seen the sentiment towards the pro models of consoles not doing as well or anywhere near as well as the base models. We've seen that with PlayStation 4 Pro, we've seen that with the Xbox One X, we've seen that with PS5 Pro. They make up such an insignificant percentage of it down to the cost. It's like X million, I think, out of the 140 odd million or whatever it was PlayStation 4s that sold, 10 million of which were PlayStation 4 Pros. It's such an in the grand scheme of things, that's such an insignificant amount. But that was down to the costing. Oh, this platform is $600. Yeah. That was like cheap compared to what we're getting now. And then you've got the PlayStation 5 Pro, which is all in $900 if you buy the the disc drive with it and the stand, which you have to buy separately. And it's ridiculous. So there's 900, and that's already shown itself. It's only the hardcore that invest in it. Xbox's new model going forward, from what we see, is we're going to focus more on the hardcore aspect of the gamers with our next device, which is going to be this hybrid PC thing, which automatically shrinks your market significantly
down, but also the margins are very much bigger.
Wafer thin.
I see it all the time. People that are the more casual gamers, they buy like 2-3 games a year. That's what I buy a month, right? At least. So
especially with Steam sales, Jesus.
I'm talking a full priced games. No, see, we've talked a lot about the Xbox strategy. Let's hear from Asha, because she said something on that with the interview with Jess Corden. She said, and that was also paraphrased on the social channels, right? The plan's the plan until it's not the plan. Actually, she said the following. Right now, I need to learn candidly about the why of these decisions, what were made, optimizing for you, and what the data says about the Xbox strategy today. That's the honest answer. I'm looking at a lifetime value. It's not just what happened in a previous moment or in a short-term efficiencies and things like that. The plan's the plan until it's not the plan. Xbox players have thousands of dollars invested in money and time too. It's incredibly important for me to understand that and protect that. I'm committed to returning to Xbox, and that starts with the console. That starts with the hardware. You will hear more about that soon. We will have some announcements coming up. You will see us collectively investing here. We also know that there are a lot of players who aren't on console or our hardware, and I want to deliver great games to them too. I need to learn more about what that can look like, what decisions were made, what we need to do going forward, and I want a little bit of time and space to do that. And I think that's a fair ask of her, right? In general, with all these things and that she's took over now, we will not see short term. We will not see next month suddenly a different strategy. It'll take time to adapt. But I think she is asking the right questions, and she's probably also willing to understand what this industry is, even though she's not a gamer per se, right? But I think that's okay, because ultimately that's not the job. And that I remember us talking about who could be the successor of Phil, I don't know, 6-7 months ago.
I think we always looked at it and said there isn't anybody really internally that we've seen there.
Yeah, it is, and because everybody was like, yeah, that's going to be Sarah Bond. And I always said, well, guys, it's not the job to look good on camera and to play a lot of games. That is not the job that they are signing up for. The job is a very different one. You're an executive board member of one of the most valuable companies in the world. That is the job. The job is not to play games. The job is not... I think
it's kind of... The issue we've got here, though, is being the CEO of Xbox should come with a requirement that you understand what that
you understand
entails.
the industry.
And not just
to be fair to her,
understand the industry, but also be... And this is where Phil Spencer worked, because not only did he understand the industry, he worked through Xbox, well, Microsoft, through that all the way to Xbox. He was a gamer, but he understood how the business worked and how the industry worked in order to go from studio to studio and go, right, well, this needs to work and this doesn't need to work, and I know I need to give them time to do what they need to do. But that was, of course, time is contradictory to business, because business doesn't have time. They want results. And the issue you've got in business is if that keeps extending and extending and extending, and you're investing and you're investing and you're investing, but you're not getting a return on that investment for a decade, which is, like you've mentioned with Fable, the best part of almost a decade, just shy of a decade in total development time, and zero return as yet. That's a cost sink where there's nothing come out the back of it. And when you've got multiple IPs like this, the board, regardless of how well you understand things, are going to be going, we need results and these things need to come out. The issue you've got is you need to have someone at the helm that does understand not just the industry or how to be a CEO, but also does understand what they're asking of their studios. And the peaks and troughs and the bad things and the nitpicks and what development issues can arise. Because if a developer goes to her, a game development company comes to her and says, right, we've got X, Y, and Z issue, what can you do to fix that? She doesn't understand that because she doesn't understand the industry, nor does she understand games or gaming or issues that could arise from that. And therein lies a problem.
I don't think it is the job of the Xbox CEO to fix studio internal problems per se.
No, it isn't per se, but shit goes upwards. It'll go to Mad Booty first.
Absolutely,
Mad Booty will try to fix things and do everything, but ultimately it's her sign-off and her that needs to argue that to her bosses.
I'm just willing to give her the credit of a doubt here, because ultimately a more neutral perspective on things can sometimes be beneficial than when you are stuck in the industry for decades and decades and you've done all the things and you've seen everything, and you are sometimes after decades and decades getting into a certain tunnel. And maybe, and that's why I'm willing to give her the credit of the doubt, it is not that bad to have a more neutral approach and look at this as someone who learns and tries to understand how have things been so far, why did we do certain things the way we did. With a more neutral perspective can be also sometimes very helpful, because at the end of the day, it's not a job for her to run the studios that push that needs to develop the great games. It's way bigger than that. It is to run the business properly. It is to set up visions, to get certain departments right in the organizational structure. It is build up the internal leadership proper. That's what a CEO is working on. He's not working on the product. He's working on the company and the culture and in the, how are the departments set up, and that's the job of the CEO. And you do not necessarily have to have a gaming background for that. I'm sorry.
So the issue I've got is I was part of a company that went into liquidation almost a decade ago now, where a new CEO had came over that had been the CEO for Sage. And anybody who works in the UK, they know what Sage is. Obviously, a massive company came over. We're in the energy sector, had absolutely zero idea about the energy sector, flipped the business into different sections, so on and so forth, into strengths of the business that did not align with the growth of the company. It wasn't an area where, okay, we're going to invest in X, Y, and Z, right? The issue they've got is that the margins in the areas you want to invest in, the profit margins in these areas, aren't going to keep this business afloat. If you're wanting to invest all of your time here and not disregard, but put what makes this company run on the back burner and have that as more of an afterthought than what it is prominently should be, then the company will sink. And ultimately, the company sunk because they invested so much time in products and services that were irrelevant to what an energy company does.
Yeah.
Likewise, the issue with
it's a guarantee
likewise
win.
the issue with
I'm just
gaming,
saying the chances.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The issue is that she needs again, the benefit of the doubt here is giving her time to understand the industry. But I say you need to have that understanding, because the only way you can really go to your bosses or shareholders, as it was the case for us, to give them an understanding of what's going wrong, is if you understand what is happening. Matt Booty can do his best to relay that information to her and say, listen, this studio is having this issue with this particular bit of hardware, and we've done this so far, but it requires this amount of investing. I need you to relay that through to them so they can understand why we need to plow more money into this in order to fix this issue. She needs to fully understand what that issue is and why, so that she can then go to Satya and whoever that is giving her that funding to say, right, we've got this issue and this is why, and they've tried to do X, Y, and Z. So there needs to be an understanding of the games, how they work, why they work, and how the studios operate, in order for her to then confidently transmit that message from her understudy, which is Matt Booty, to her boss, which is Satya. So yes, the benefit of doubt, she needs to educate herself, but she does also need to have a firm understanding of gaming, and I think that needs to be picked up along that to understand and then portray that message to Satya, because Satya himself is also not a gamer. He doesn't understand, so he needs that in layman's terms. He needs, which is possibly a good reason for her as well. Her not being that, if she can go, right, well, I was in your position, I wasn't a gamer, I've kind of educated myself on X, Y, Z. In your terms, this is what this means, and this is why we need to do this. That's a kind of the only middle ground I can see where it would work. But if she invests her time into understanding not only games, but the industry as a whole, from a gaming perspective, because it isn't like any other sector. You can't go into it thinking it's like specifically like the mobile sector or anything like that.
That is true. I mean, that's true for almost every industry, has its specialities, right? Deadly, before we get to you, let me briefly shout out Pyromet, who is in the chat, who donated today's giveaway. And I want to remind everyone, pardon. Yeah, you guys can win today a copy of Dragon Ball Kakarot. If you are interested, just drop in the chat hashtag Pyro. and you will automatically enter the giveaway, and we're going to draw the winner more towards the end of the show. So hashtag Pyro in the chat, and you'll automatically enter the giveaway for Dragon Ball. Deadly. Where were we? Different kinds of things. See.
So conversations about Asha Sharma. Talking about. So she's clearly, or at least she shared her gamer tag. Her gamer tag shows that she has played some games. She has also since. In fact, let me just find. So she did reply to Ryan McCaffrey recently on Twitter, with a little bit more context over the time that she has put into Xbox, her time gaming, who else in her family is currently using it. So let me just try and find this reply. There we go. So Ryan McCaffrey tweeted, "Do I believe that AI is writing Asha Sharma's posts? No." Excuse me. Do I believe that an experienced gamer on the Xbox team may be helping her sound more like a quote-unquote real gamer with her social replies? Yes. Do I think it's a bad idea for her to try and fake this? Yes. She surprisingly replied to that with, "I agree, faking it would be a terrible idea and wouldn't work. I also didn't expect my gamer tag to blow up, and the reality is more boring. I created it recently to learn and understand this world. I've played with my family, and it's a shared home account across devices, which you can see in the range of games/achievements. Fix that this weekend, and everyone is only playing on their own gamer tags." But I get where this is coming from. I don't pretend to be the best gamer, and even though I'm playing, that's still not my goal. My focus is to make Xbox the best place to play, return to our roots, ship great things, and become stronger for the future. And yes, I'm writing my own posts. I was particularly entertained by one reply that she did give to somebody who accused her of being AI with just the words beep, boop, beep, boop.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Really funny. I really enjoyed that. I respect her for being open, and I want to take her at her word. I understand the mentality of you should never take a CEO at their word. Like, I get that, and for the most part, agree with it. I like the fact that she is trying to learn this world, and I respect her for doing so. Like, I want her to understand what makes Xbox a brilliant place to play, because I still think it is. I really like using the Xbox platform and everything that it offers, and I think obviously the goal of Xbox, the goal of Asha Sharma, is to communicate that outwards so that more people buy in and put their time and money and enjoyment into this brand, this platform, this console, this ecosystem, whatever their access point is. Maybe it is just the games. If we go back to this multi-platform strategy, like, if that's more important to them than just investing in the platform. But I think that sort of goes back to what we said at the beginning of this conversation, where, like, they've basically outwardly communicated that people don't have to invest into the platform if they don't want to. And, like, that's not really something you tell consumers, is it? You don't actually have to buy our stuff if you don't want to. And that's effectively what they've done with a mixture of this is an Xbox campaign and the multi-platform strategy. I think the takeaway from a lot of consumers is, okay, cool, I guess I can buy it elsewhere.
Yeah, I guess I don't need an Xbox anymore.
Yeah. Guys,
I think one of the things as well that I think they should, when they were mentioning about recommitting to Xbox, now obviously we've seen it in the Netherlands. They still do these smaller Xbox events every now and again, but mainly for like influencers, as it were, than it is for generic people. Is the something they did and were doing pretty much every year prior to COVID, which was the XO events. They had XO 18, they had XO 19, which is I went to in London, they had XO 17, 15, 14. And every time they do it in a different location and people could go, and it was a big event where they'd have all the games out. It was like a mini event / showcase that they did every year. And realistically, they do that in the forms of Xbox Developer Direct and or Gamescom these days. But the issue you've got there is Gamescom is a fixed position, and it's for those who ultimately get to travel over to Germany for that particular one showcase. XO, on the other hand, was a moving showcase that went to different locations around the world every now and again, and then they would do this lovely live stream event, and like it would a regular kind of in-person event, have loads of booths set up from not just their own developers, but indie developers, third-party studios, and everybody, where they would celebrate Xbox as a platform, as well as the games, and also be able to sell their merchandise there as well. So it was a kind of it was a hybrid kind of event. That is celebrating a platform, and that's a relatively, for them, budget-wise, low-cost thing to invest in, these small events. But the issue we've got here is since COVID, most, if not all, companies have completely scaled back on appearing at these events or creating these events. That would be one way to recommit to the platform.
The thing is the reach of those events, right? If you talk about an XO 19, how many people have been there? 1,000, 2,000, 3,000? It's really not a big audience you can reach. You can way easier reach much bigger audiences through the social networks, through live streams.
I mean, that's the thing with XOs, is they were always live streamed. So it was a multi-pronged approach.
True.
It was more just reconnecting with the community is the point that I'm getting, is a physical in-person thing to reconnect with the community in a given location, celebrating the fact that they've got a community in the UK or in Brazil or in Japan or wherever it is. The fact that they used to do that, once a year they would go to a set location, do an XO event in a different country every time, celebrate that community, and if that community wanted to go and celebrate Xbox and play some games and buy some mad merch, specific merch for that area, like the T-shirts that you get for Gamescom is specific to Xbox for Gamescom, or all the ones for XO were specific to them, and they would have all these specific things that made you feel part of the community. The community thing for Xbox is, I think, it was slightly tainted with the weird relationship some influencers had with staff, thinking that they were best friends. And then they've all taken, since that issue, especially when they started going multi-platform, all of the staff have taken a real big back step on that, and they've just been like, we need to get rid of this parasocial thing here, because it's, whilst it was good interacting with people on social media, people have had this false thought in their head that we are best friends, but we're a corporation at the end of the day. Yes, we want to interact with the community, but you need to kind of take a step back and say, whoa, hold your horses here. And we've noticed some people have absolute mental breakdowns over the fact that they lied to me, they did X, Y, and Z. No, they didn't. They didn't. They were what it was.
Let me briefly shout out Pyromet, who sends in a £2 super chat and says, Dragon Ball Kakarot is a worldwide key for Xbox Series. Yeah, guys. Again, Pyro, super generous here today. Donated a key for Dragon Ball. If you want to enter, just type #Pyro in the chat, and we will draw the winner more towards the end of the show. Guys, one thing we haven't talked about yet is Sarah Bond leaving. I mean, my initial thought was like, she was probably thinking, hey, I want to be the successor of Phil if the day comes that Phil leaves, right? didn't turn out. So I'm leaving my things because there's really no chance for me to develop myself any further in here. That was my original thought. Then we found or got an article this week from Tom Warren that, well, kind of put Sarah in a weird spot. Basically saying, well, she was hard to work with. This is what the article said. I'm quoting now. The pivot away from console led by Sarah Bond under Spencer's direction hasn't gone well for Xbox. The strategy had been failing internally and been questioned multiple times. Bond had tried to push mobile and cloud over console to reach potentially millions more Xbox customers, but the result has been a classic case of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's. He talked to a bunch of different employees of Xbox, and the key statements he got from multiple sources were that Xbox Anywhere was Sarah Bond's plan. This is an Xbox ad was also her idea, and she offended many with that internal.
Many, apparently.
Yeah. The writing on the wall for Sarah and Phil to leave has been there for a while now, apparently internally. Multiple sources that Bond has been working with quoted her as tough to work with. And if you didn't really follow the vision or questioned it, you were out of the teams. And people internally are more relieved that Sarah Bond is gone now. Which is, well, we can believe this or not. But Tom Warren usually doesn't put something like that out if he doesn't really have a couple of sources on that. So, what are your thoughts, Stanley? Why she's gone?
So, I've seen this piece be described as a quote unquote hit piece. I don't subscribe to that idea. I do, because I always think life is more nuanced than that. But I can believe a lot of what has been said in terms of that sentiment around some of the decisions that Sarah Bond will have made versus people who will have been there for. Okay, so people offended by the "This is an Xbox" ad campaign.
I don't think it strictly means, because I think people are just going offended by an advertisement. I don't think it was the advertisement per se. I think it was the ideology around the advertisement.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think, like I said before, I don't think there was anything wrong with the ideology of the advertisement, but what they didn't do was then follow up by actually championing their flagship stuff. So for me,
I think much like me, you, and probably everybody internally, they all had the same mental capacity to think, what is the purpose of the advertisement if the groundwork to really rule out that ideology is not there?
Yes.
Like it isn't, we cannot commit to something that isn't in play. You can play everywhere. We can't though.
I think it was the best quote that we've heard is that idea of chasing tomorrow's customers by neglecting today's, and that fundamentally is what that advert did do. And again, like, I championed the idea behind that advert because I think it was a good way of selling what the ecosystem did. But the loudest complaint that we saw when that advert came out is it sort of feels like you've forgotten about the people who quote unquote made Xbox in the first place, whether that is the players, the fans,
the core customer,
the core customer. Exactly. Yeah. I think, it sounds, I understand the calls for the calls over to Sarah Bond being scapegoated, or the phrase that I prefer and I really wish would catch on is blame donkey. I think it's a much better animal husbandry themed phrase than scapegoat is. It came up with it in a D&D campaign, and it's stuck with my party since. So I'll spread the word on blame donkey versus scapegoat. I don't know. It's a really difficult thing to get full clarity on without being inside Microsoft's walls. But I think a lot of what we've seen from Tom Warren makes sense in terms of seeing some of the management decisions made by both Sarah and actually, okay, here's where justice for Sarah should probably come back. Not all of those decisions were down to Sarah and Sarah Lane, because will have obviously signed off on all of those decisions. Satya will have signed off on a lot, if not all of those decisions as well, around things like the This Is an Xbox campaign, around things like multi-platform.
And the other thing the other thing I don't agree with is, especially the Xbox Everywhere approach. I don't fully buy into that was her idea either, because from day dot, Satya has been saying, I don't believe in exclusives.
Yes. Yeah, agreed.
So I don't believe that it was all Sarah Bond's idea to do Xbox Everywhere, because her boss,
but she probably was the executioner of that idea. Yeah.
He was questioning at day dot because he doesn't know gaming.
Yeah.
Why are exclusives there?
The other thing that's quite strange, though, is like, okay, so I understand that This Is an Xbox was a disruptive campaign. I actually said it was disruptive for a reason, because it got a lot of people talking. Yeah. But it didn't actually sell anything new, because cloud, console, PC, cross saves, cross progression, all that sort of stuff, like that's been in place for almost 10 years at this point. Like none of it's new. Is
but they didn't even sell the product. They didn't even sell the product that allows you to play those things anywhere.
Yeah.
Game Pass. At all.
Yeah. Game Pass and the controller. Play
anywhere. Using.
Yeah.
No, okay.
Yeah, and combine that with the harsh reality that not everything is an Xbox yet.
Yeah.
And we are still far away from that. I remember that I just looked it up in my show notes from about a year ago, where we had this discussion about this ad. I counted at the time. I should do a recount at some point. At the time, I had 734 games on Xbox that were not in Game Pass.
Yeah.
They were not in Game Pass. 734 games, and only 11 of those were Play Anywhere. It is ridiculous that you come out, say everything is an Xbox, and you can barely play any games at the time on cloud if they weren't in Game Pass. Yeah, because basically all Game Pass games are Play Anywhere, with a few exceptions like Skyrim and such. But others. But outside of the Game Pass games, this was simply not true. There was no chance you had Play Anywhere. Cloud was not available. Stream your own games.
They were adding quite a lot to stream your own, but that list is still growing, and it's not massive.
No, it is not. Then they put out at some point this list of, hey, we have 1,000 games in Play Anywhere, and 950 games of those you haven't even heard of, right?
Yeah.
But your actual library, the games you actually play, were simply not there. So this is the second problem with this whole ad campaign and this idea. And I think the general idea is still awesome, to have that barrier broken down in between these devices, and to have a more wider environment, ecosystem to play your games on. But in order to push such an ad in this kind of way and actually not advertise the actual good products that you already have, the console, the Game Pass, the actual games that you had, Deadly, you mentioned it earlier. The lack of advertisement for great games like Indiana Jones and even Starfield really didn't get a good marketing campatain, right? So you don't advertise the good stuff you have.
It didn't get a marketing campaign at all, did it? I saw like bus ads and like a few out of home ads, but like there was no. Do you remember like some of the ad campaigns that used to be done for Halo? Like there was the Halo 3 Neil Blomkamp one. There was the Halo Reach live action trailer, even the Halo 5 live action trailer, even though it was complete fucking fiction versus the Halo 5 storyline. It was still, still a visually impactful trailer.
They had that. Was it a series or film or something for Halo as well that launched?
So they've done. There was the Fall of Reach. There was Nightfall. They also did the Hunt the Truth.
I think it was
like podcast series
Nightfall.
as well.
Fall of Reach was really good.
Yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't. Was it Fall of Reach? What was the one where there was like it was the ODS, the ODST training camp type thing, and then they got invaded. Was that Fall of Reach?
With Chief.
So, yeah.
And
I think it was Fall of Reach.
Chief comes at the end.
Yeah.
Yes. That was Fall of Reach.
Okay, that's Fall of Reach.
Nightfall.
That was a good. That was a
really
really good representation of Halo.
But that's the thing, right? You have all those good things. Gamepass, a great console, cheap console.
They're not selling any of them. They haven't sold any of them since this was an Xbox came
exactly.
out.
But you add, your ad says, "Hey, everything's an Xbox," when it's really not. So you're advertising the one thing you want to become at some point. That open ecosystem. This is what you advertise, and the rest. The good stuff you have. So I can feel or see how this is internal or was internally considered also not a really good idea, and people struggling with that, right?
You see Freddie Fox in the chat says Starfield had a huge ad campaign, and there was an NBA court. It was totally done in Starfield.
In America.
There were like installations and sort of. I have seen out of home ads. I have seen, like big installations and things like that. But I don't remember seeing like a memorable. Actually, did I see a live action ad? I think I might have seen a live action ad. I think there might have been one.
It was Forward Unto Dawn.
Oh, Forward Unto, of course, yeah. Good shout. I'm struggling to think if I did see a live action Starfield ad now.
I
certainly don't remember seeing Indiana Jones advertised a hell of a lot. Anyway, I don't remember seeing Avowed.
Maybe there was a little bit of advertisement for Starfield, especially in the US, probably. But in general,
was the Hellblade advertisement on the cliffs of Dover. Who the fuck's going to see that?
I've only seen it on Twitter, so
it's Farage with his little binoculars.
I remember them posting a picture, and I was like, "But who would have seen that? Who would have realistically seen that? Some guy on a ferry just looking over." And
anyone who happens to be coming over from France. It's great. It's great. Good channel, guys.
Let me shout out Zitflaw, who sends in a $2 super chat and says, "Celebrate the new CEO with a Hawaiian pizza." And we will most certainly not do that. Pineapple does not belong on pizza.
I thought I have a Hawaiian pizza in the freezer. I was really tempted. Like, I think we were going to have it for dinner tomorrow, but I was really tempted to just cook it and eat it on stream.
Okay. No.
Just rage bait.
Just no. Can we kick him out of the show here, Dutch?
Pineapple.
I do enjoy pineapple. I really like pineapple. It's not a pineapple thing, but fruit does not belong on pizza. And I know technically tomato is a fruit, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, our thing really is, and especially with all three of us being European based, is the marketing. This is where we always clash with those over in the US. because in the US, Xbox's marketing is like big and vivid, and okay, we're going to do it at an NFL game, and we're going to do it in like on an NBA court, and we're going to do it in Las Vegas. I'm like, that's all well and good, but that's just the American market.
Yeah.
They've neglected the rest of the world for such a long period of time that certain markets in Europe, the Xbox is literally dead and buried.
Yeah.
Gone.
True.
There's nothing there.
True that. All right, guys, we've been on this topic for quite a while now. I mean, it is a big topic.
A crazy week.
A crazy week. I've seen also big question marks around why now? Why not let Phil celebrate the 25th anniversary or launch the next gen console and then hand it off to the successor? I
think Phil said it himself in his own statement that he's going to be there throughout the summer to do the handover process.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't put it past him being present on the final developer direct.
Yeah, I can see him being
Absolutely.
present and visible at the
the
25th anniversary celebration, whenever that is.
Absolutely. That's why I don't think these kind of decisions are made based on a 25th anniversary stream that they might have. I think it has more to do with two things. We all expect the next gen console to launch towards the end of next year, right? November 27. So we have a good 1.5 years left. So they are in the final stage of finalizing the development for that console and finalizing the strategy for it and going forward. I think it makes sense for a new CEO to take over prior to that, to be able to shape that future, not get it handed over after the launch. I think this is one train of thought that definitely went in there. If Asha takes over now, she still has time left to shape the strategy in whatever it might be, right? Rather than being handed over the final product and then have to deal with it. Similar to like they did it with Phil, right? They launched the Xbox One with a miserable strategy, and then here, Phil, now you deal with it. And I think that is probably a bigger train of thought than the 25th anniversary. And the second thing is, I also feel like the ABK acquisition is over now for almost 3 years, right? And so far, we've seen, for instance, the financial results with the last quarter. It's not just console sales that are going down. It's also the content revenue, the subscription revenue, everything is going down. And
despite it being higher than it ever has been, which is the crazy part. Like, they've never made more money. They're just struggling to make even more money.
And find growth. And find growth.
That must be nice, right?
Exactly.
Can't imagine what that's like.
But I think also that, well, we mentioned that when we talked about the last financial report, right? Of course, with everything being a question mark right now, this unclear vision, this unclear strategy of Xbox, people are starting to build their libraries now on Steam or even quicker on PlayStation. And that shows. I know it also had to do with Call of Duty being really bad last year, but I think it's a good time. 1.5 years prior to the launch of the next gen, give the new CEO time to shape the vision, the future for the next gen. Let her have the chance to actually make an impact, and I think that's why it's now and not like towards the end of the year after this anniversary or after the launch next year, right? But overall, I'm willing to give Asha a chance. So far, let's be real, she said all the right things. Now she has to follow up on those things.
She's got to prove it for sure, and
she has
I
to
think
prove
a
it.
lot of that seems to get missed in online discourse. Like you can say something hopeful or optimistic, or even dare I say positive about the new CEO, but when it comes to waiting and seeing what's happened, the sort of loudest critiques of other platforms seem to just ignore that part entirely. We have to wait and see what happens. I wonder, speaking to the timing of this, I wonder if, and it's probably not accurate, but I do wonder if part of the timing of this is because they know that it's a crucial year for moving units, especially for a game like GTA 6, if that's coming out at the end of the year. And there are only two places you can play that, the Series X and S and the PS5.
Yeah.
And if that is their opportunity to go, right, we're going to have to shift some numbers this year because that game is coming out on that platform. Anyone who's still on the Xbox One or Xbox One X, they're going to need an incentive to upgrade beyond, it's just a more powerful version of what I've got. Like, they need to be sold that, they need to be marketed that, they need to be encouraged to move on from last gen and pick the Series X or S over the PS5. And if the marketing so far has not done that, I think that onus is on Asha Sharma over the next 6 months to try and make a difference, because once we enter that fall season, and anyone who is still left over on whether it's a PS4 or an Xbox One, they've got that decision to make, assuming they're going to be a GTA 6 day one player. I'm sure a hell of a lot of people planning on playing that game have already got the platform that they plan on buying.
Absolutely.
But
and it's
those
not
players
just
still
GTA,
exist.
It's also some of their most expensive games come out this year.
Yeah.
Right? With Gears, massive budget, way bigger budget than basically everything except Call of Duty that they launched last year. Yeah, I mean, last year's and Fable, same. Yeah. And Forza Horizon, and those kind of games are way bigger heavy hitters than basically everything that they released last year. Not that Avowed wasn't. I really enjoyed Avowed, and I loved the Oblivion remake and the Tony Hawk remake, and Ninja Gaiden was fun, but those are not the heaviest, not even close to being the same heavy hitters than they released this year, right? And so much depends on it, of course. They need to do to Fable to do well, and they need to Gears to do well, because those are way different, bigger budgets.
I think the other kind of weird thing that they've got going on this year is, as you've mentioned, they need to try and sell them on the Xbox Series X and S for GTA, but then the contradictory part in it is that they're also going to be pitching new hardware.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, buy an Xbox Series X and S, but next year we're also releasing this much more powerful PC game, a console hybrid. Yeah. So can you buy that?
That's the thing.
Well?
If that console is going to be the best part of a grand, which I think is probably likely. I can't imagine that they will stop selling the Series X and S. Because I think if you cut off that cheaper entry point, you've shot yourself in the foot. Exactly, yeah. I think, and I guess I wonder if this is where some of the messaging is going to go, because obviously everything that you can play on the Series X and S, you're going to be able to play on the hybrid, because it's got that sort of AMD sort of hybrid chip that lets you get all the backwards compatibility and stuff, plus this sort of future forward facing look at PC gaming, and it being more sort of living room friendly, and this sort of this kind of transition that they're going through to unite PC and console closer together. It sort of feels like that's how they're going to have to sell it, to go, if you want Game Pass, you want all of these things day one, you want everything that Xbox makes in one place. Like the best place that you can play it in your living room is going to be the Xbox Series X and S. if you want to play it here, there, and everywhere, you've got the rest of the Xbox ecosystem, or this big new flagship is going to play them even better with, you know, things like AI upscaling, but also you're going to be able to do this, and this with it too. It's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But I think the biggest concern for me is that messaging is already somewhat muddy. You are risking making it even muddier.
And Xbox don't have the greatest track record of being able to market things.
Yes. No. True. So let's see how this will pan out.
If I was the CEO, I would first and foremost concentrate on where have we went wrong. It's not necessarily what we're doing, but it's absolutely the way we're talking about what we're doing. Because the marketing and the messaging has been a shit show.
Yeah.
And that would be the first point to call if I was CEO. I'd be like, right, first things first, marketing.
Maybe that's also why people are so critical towards the actual good things that Asha said, right? Xbox has said a lot of things over the years.
Yeah.
And not always did they live up to what they promised. So, yeah. I feel like we've basically probably all noticed this. The community has been not happy with Xbox for the last 2-3 years, especially. Yeah, ever since the promise of it's only 4 games, it all went kind of down with towards the community, and I feel like this also gives us a chance. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because we all loved Phil, right? And seeing him gone now, I know that it's kind of scary. But on the other hand, maybe that's exactly what Xbox needs: fresh mind, a fresh start, a shift in ideas, a shift in culture. And so,
as long as it's not a Jim Ryan shift in culture.
Yeah, true. It can go either way. It can go either way, right?
I think, again, like with that sort of optimist hat on, I do think that a lot of lessons have been learned over this generation from things like the amount of investment that went into video games during COVID before everybody went back to work and started living their quote unquote normal lives again. And, you know, we saw naivety, not just from publishers like Xbox and PlayStation on that, but like Tencent, Embracer Group, like they all made crazy investments that they then couldn't follow through with because the bubble burst quite aggressively and quite violently. We've seen PlayStation chase the live service dragon, and then we've seen projects like Concord. We've seen like I think Marathon will do all right, but I think Fair Games is probably fucked on arrival. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I can't see any of them doing overly well.
Go well.
Yeah, me neither. I don't think that Marathon is. Arc Raiders was different, right?
I don't think Marathon is going to. I don't think it will hit Arc Raiders numbers because I think Arc Raiders had a particularly sensational sort of viral success.
Yes,
but I don't think it's going to do badly. Like I think Marathon might do all right. But it just sort of, there's a lot of things that have changed in the industry. There's a lot of things that have challenged the gaming industry directly in the last 6 years. And I think what is potentially cause for optimism is that fresh blood, that fresh insight, and that opportunity to quote unquote reset things. And I don't know how successful that reset is going to be because you can't really reset a 25-year-old brand. Not really. All they can do is try and reset perception. It's frustrating as an Xbox user. I agree. It's quite frustrating to see some of this play out as an Xbox user, I think, because I think like I've maintained for a long time that Xbox is a brilliant platform to use, and it's where I've been happiest as a gamer for a while. Like I'm very, very happy with everything that the Xbox ecosystem offers me, the user, but that's because I'm already in it. And the key challenge that they are struggling with specifically is getting more people in it.
Yeah, true.
That is something that Asha Shah has supposedly a proven background in terms of growing platforms and getting more people to use stuff. But I'm really interested to see how that manifests in a industry as unique as gaming.
Yeah.
With an audience as fickle and as demanding and as irrational as gamers. No offense, chaps.
No,
it's just true.
We are a special bunch, definitely.
Better or worse.
Absolutely. All right, guys, before we wrap that up, I want to shout out Pyromat again for donating the giveaway here today. I want to draw the winner. We are almost 2.5 hours already into the show. If you guys want to enter, last chance, type in the chat hashtag Pyro, and you will be able to enter for an Xbox code for Dragon Ball Kakarot, donated by Pyro. We have already a long list here. I'm in parallel trying to put on, I have these little spinning wheels here, you know, but I forgot to prepare a proper overlay. So how can I move that here now? So while I try to figure it out, you guys can still enter. This doesn't work. Damn it. Sorry, stalling. Doesn't work. Why is it not sharing this particular window? I have no idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can share a screen through Discord, but it would just
but it
mean that
wouldn't pop up there because the overlay is set to the frame size. Okay, we have to do it blind. So I'm gonna give the community another 10 seconds or so to enter, and so far I hope I have all the names in the spinning wheel, and you will have to just trust me on this one. I'm not donating it to Deadly Headley or Wandering Dutch. No worries.
No, I think I've already got it. To be fair, it's in my everlasting backlog.
Yeah. All right.
My dog in because I can hear him very out.
Okay, you will do that. And I'm going to draw the winner. Wheel is spinning. Sorry. Next time I'll be better prepared to share the spinning wheel. But I would have to fix my entire overlay here on the fly. I'm not good enough to do that. Okay, and we do have a winner here today. Shout out to Storm Player, who just won the code. Congratulations! I have you on X. I'm gonna send you the code there. A big thank you to Pyromat again for donating today's code. UK Desirous in the chat says he didn't enter. No, you didn't, bro. There was no hashtag Pyro in the chat from you. Right, Pyro, again, a big thank you. Super generous of you. And congratulations to Storm Player for winning Dragon Ball. Awesome stuff. I don't know if Storm Player is still in the chat. He was earlier, put his name in, and I will... But he's a regular listener, so
yeah, he'll be floating around in the background somewhere.
Yeah. He'll probably share his thoughts in the chat on the game next week. Then there he is. There he is. Congrats, Stumbler. Right after the podcast, I will send you the code. And again, Pyro, thanks for sharing this here with the community. Super generous of you. All right, guys, let's wrap the topic on Xbox up. There's one more topic I want to get to and hear your thoughts on before we let everyone out of here. So any final thoughts on the Asha Xbox thing?
I think so. Just I think the only thing we can do as players, fans, skeptics, critics is just let her cook and then judge the results when they come.
Absolutely.
Because
Yep.
it's the most sensible thing you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And I highly recommend not to see it too critical, because change sometimes can be beneficial. So I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. And don't expect any major changes within the next couple of weeks. This is going to take months until we see her vision.
I mean, ultimately, she's got the next generation from the start. So
yeah,
the next generation will be what she'll be judged on.
Exactly. All right. Then let's move on to another topic that almost got buried under this entire Xbox news.
That's because Xbox like to outdo people, that's why.
Yes, absolutely.
You've got bad news, we've got worse.
Hold my beer, baby.
Right. Sony shut down Bluepoint Studios, the studio behind remakes like... damn it, I'm blanking on the name.
So they did remake they did do
Demon's
the
Souls.
remaster for the
Demon's
Uncharted
Souls.
series, which
And the
is
Uncharted.
actually, I've started playing Uncharted 3 this week as well, because I've been playing through that series for the first time. So I'm on number 3. And yeah, when I launched that, I saw the Bluepoint logo and I thought, yeah, shout out to you
absolutely awesome on the ROG Xbox LEX. I bought this Nathan Drake collection someone last year
I've got that,
on the Steam sale, and it is absolutely awesome to play it on.
I looked at that. This actually caught me off guard, right? So I bought the Uncharted collection on PlayStation about 18 months ago, and I started playing it just over a year ago. I played through 1 and 2 back to back, and I loved them. I just started 3 earlier this week, and I'm going to play that either like on my PS5 or remote play using this, which is insane that I can do that, but I'm glad about it because it's convenient as hell.
You can remote play on the ROG Ally to the PlayStation 5.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of tinkering involved. There is an app called PX Play, and I've got that downloaded and installed. It works really well, but I need to remap the two buttons on the back. I need to remap them so that they work as the PS button and the touchpad. I can do that on the Ally, but I need to remap it so that it only behaves like that on the PlayStation streaming app, and currently I can't get that working on its own. I can only do it if it's like a universal change. I don't want it to be a universal change. I just want those 2 buttons to behave in that specific way when running that specific app. So I need to figure that part out. This is all crap that Xbox, like core Xbox console players, are really, really worried about. Like, they don't want to deal with that sort of nonsense on the next hybrid console. Me, the tinkerer, me, the person who quite likes his journey on PC so far, isn't that bothered by that. But I completely empathize, understand, and respect the positions of people who are worried about that. I think that's a major and valid concern, that it's not going to behave like a console. It's going to behave like a PC. It needs to play games like a PC, but behave like a console. And that absolutely. You're muted, by the way.
You're muted.
You're on mute. Can't hear you. Can't hear you. I can tell you're cooking, but I can't hear you.
Damn it. I had to cough and muted myself on the mic and forgot to unmute myself again. So
we will get back on topic, but yeah, go on. What were you saying?
Yeah, I was saying,
that's a concern about
I totally forgot what I was saying. Anyway, let's get back to
that
Bluepoint.
concern about the Windows-based console.
Yeah, we still have a lot of work to do. That it actually feels like it starts with easy things like updates in one place. There are now 4 or 5 places you have to go to do updates. You have to go to Windows Desktop Mode to update Windows, to update the apps. Then you have to go to My Asus app. You have to go to the Armory Crate. You have to update your games in the Xbox app, and so on. And this is just ridiculous. Get everything in one place, make it feel like an Xbox. I never have to worry about updating drivers in a separate space than or
downloading
on a console.
launchers as well. That was really annoying for me.
Yeah.
Like as soon as I opened up the Ally, the first thing I had to do was go and find the Rockstar launcher because I wanted to download GTA 5 to it. It's just like stuff like that being pre-installed would go a long way for a start. Anyway, we're massively off topic. We were talking about Uncharted. I have bought
Bluepoint.
Uncharted Legacy of Thieves collection on PC, but it only comes with Uncharted 4 and The Lost Legacy. It doesn't have the remastered games, which is unfortunate because I thought it did. I opened it up hoping to play Uncharted 3 there natively instead, but I'll stream it and I can play it on my PS5. It's fine.
Sweet.
So. Yeah, anyway, Bluepoint. Let's go back on.
Makers of Demon Souls. I was thinking of Demon Souls remake, right? Pyro in the chat says Shadow of the Colossus, right? Also Bluepoint, right? Great studio with a lot of talent to reinvigorate games, right? Remake games. They were put on the God of War games as a service online game as a team that was cancelled, right? And that's why they haven't released anything in the last 5 years, 5.5 years now. And Sony shut them down. Didn't get as much attention because like a couple of hours later, right, Xbox came out with this news, but I still wanted
like
to
a day, wasn't it?
Yeah. And so I want to hear your thoughts on this.
For me, it's one of those things as well. Like, I think Bluepoint's main issue, and I think Nixus have got the issue as well themselves that they'll have to watch their backs for, is the fact that they have been a one-trick pony for what they do, and Bluepoint's was always, okay, we'll put you on doing remakes and or remasters, and kind of that's your go-to. So when they're looking at things now, and Sony have looked at what they've got out of remakes and remasters, and okay, have they been financially viable as a studio? Have the products that they've released had a return on investment that we hoped for? No. Is the underlying issue, and then when they've pivoted them like they did most of their studios over to live service, and then had a wave of cancellations of all of these massive live service projects that they had, only the strongest survived, and by that means the seasoned studios, the big guys, where they're like we seen with The Last of Us creators, forgotten
Naughty Dog.
So
like
when
they had Last of Us Online cancelled, but they're still hefty enough to
next game.
Do Intergalactic. Yeah.
Big enough studio in order to go right, boop, straight off Intergalactic.
Swallow the cost, however substantial that is.
Because we've got the backing to do that. Smaller studios like Bluepoint, who've only ever been utilised by Sony as a studio that does remakes and remasters, don't have that footing in order to kind of justify keeping them there. And the one and only time they've been asked to do a project that is not even their own, really, it's an IP that doesn't belong to them, and then create a live service game around it, they've went, nah. And it's clearly not working, and we're not going to recoup 5 years worth of dev costs out of this, so shut her doors. It's horrible. But ultimately, as we all know, it's run as a business, and if it's not viable anymore, then that's where it goes. The only thing that I hope is that these talented people are put elsewhere within the company and go, right, you as a group, as a company, were very, very good developers, very good at what you did. The issue was the studio in itself wasn't a viable thing anymore. However, the talented staff that we have here, hopefully they get them staff and put them within the remaining studios that they have, or at least a large chunk of them. That's the only good thing that can come out of it, because ultimately you can't keep an entire studio running that doesn't produce anything, but you can.
But the question is now, why didn't they produce anything? Because they have been pumping out games after games, from Shadow of the Colossus to Demon Souls to even going back prior to the acquisition. Like Stormplay in the chat says, they made things like the 360 version for Titanfall and stuff like that. They have been pumping out content. They were put on.
The issue is it wasn't specifically their content, it was remakes or remasters of content that already existed, so therefore it wasn't like they had an IP themselves that had made them successful, that had made them be something that was that stood out. And again, another issue is despite Shadow of the Colossus and all of these things that they released, the things that they released weren't commercially successful to be viable as a studio to remain open. And that's ultimately what they look at from above. And we've seen that even at Xbox. They've done exactly the same thing. Bloody Tango Gameworks.
Yeah.
Fantastic games, but not commercially viable. It wasn't commercially viable. Thankfully, Tango are still there. Not operating under Xbox, but they're still a studio. But this is the key issue, and they are talented developers. The problem is they don't have their own product to fall back on. They didn't have their own IP.
Whose fault is that? This is what I'm asking myself.
That's ultimately Sony's, yeah. It's Sony's for not ever giving them the opportunity to have an IP of their own.
Wholeheartedly blame Sony for putting them on a God of War live service. Like who thought that would be a good idea? Who thought, yeah, that's sensible. Let's chase that with just as many IP as we can and just hope that something sticks. Like that, it just feels really reckless, and it doesn't.
Well, that's what Boxy had said when the live service thing had originally surmounted. It's the whole premise around live service is that it's not just to throw shit at the wall and hope it sticks. It has to be a new idea. Yeah. And the only reason Xbox have been successful in the live service offerings that they have is that the majority of the live service offerings that they have either been a brand new idea or a successful version of a game that works within that universe, i.e. The Elder Scrolls Online, although it had a horrifically rocky start.
Yeah.
That needed significant investment from the company itself prior to acquisition. And then
you could say the same about Fallout 76 as well. Like, again, rocky start, but the other thing that Xbox has always been quite good at doing with, especially with live service, I'd actually put Halo Infinite in that same bucket as well. They work on them until they are where they need to be.
It requires investment.
Thieves would be another example, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can't blame Sony for not wanting to do that, but you also sort of have to blame them for going, right, if you wanted this in the first place, but I'm still really frustrated that Tlu Online isn't coming. I actually really wanted that game. And it's frustrating that they've committed so far to them and then had to pull the plug on one reason or another. And especially with Bluepoint, that's resulted in job losses, studio closures. It sucks. It's really unfortunate. And it just sort of shows that, like, that more thought needs to be put into chasing those golden gooses, because they're not easy to get.
Yeah.
No, and like we said originally and we've said before, Microsoft's ability to invest in something despite it making losses is why their live services have continued to get better.
Shout out to Xbox hardware.
Yeah, I mean, primarily all of the live service games that they've ever released have been horrific at launch, but they stuck in it and said, listen, it's not been the best of starts, but the premise behind this game has got the basics right for us to continue to say, if you do X, Y, and Z within this time period, we believe in this, and we're willing to make a loss on it initially in order to get where it needs to be. Sony they don't even let it get to the stage where it releases before going, nope, it's gone, that's not going to work. How do you know?
Yeah.
How do you know?
This entire strategy, this entire Jim Ryan idea of developing games as a service titles like crazy was such a massive failure, and it just annoys the hell out of me that talented studios like a Bluepoint that have found their niche, even though they have not created their own unique IP, but they were really good in making those kind of remakes, bringing old games to life, modernize certain things. If you look at the Demon's Souls remake, how many gameplay mechanics they've modernized while still staying true to that original feeling of a Demon's Souls, right? There are not that many studios out there, and especially a company like Sony that has such rich history in IP, right? Could have benefited from that. Let them do a SOCOM, right? Remake or something. There's so much that they could have done, but instead they were chasing this idea of, we want our own Fortnite, we want our own Warzone, we want those kind of games, right? And we throw every IP and everything we've got into this basket, and the result is now not just the closure of studios, but it's a bare, dry roadmap that we have, right? Because it'll take
disrespecting the content that they do have and the stuff that they are known for. You've just
exactly.
It feels like they've devalued those IP by trying by sort of risking them in the way that they have.
My issue with the thing about the IP as well is that they were full focused on, especially with some of them that they announced, they're like, oh, they're going to do a God of War live service game, they're going to do a Horizon live service game, and immediately you think, but why? Like, in what way do you think that universe would work in a live service model?
Yeah. I can't see the God of War universe translating to a multiplayer space. What does everybody have their own gods? What are they gods of? Like, you sort of very quickly lose that sort of meaning and significance of Kratos being the guy that he is. Instead, you've got 1,000 Kratoses running around, and they're all as capable as each other. Like
1,000 Vikings that have all got powers.
Right.
Okay.
Same could be said for like do you remember we saw a bit of footage from that supposed sort of Spider-Man universe live service game that we saw from Insomniac being tested as well?
And it's like that's also, the thing is that would be great as just a multiplayer part of a normal game.
Yes.
You don't have to turn every multiplayer game into live service, but Sony were like, oh yes, we do.
What I do quite like. So something that we have seen from Sony recently, I'm sure they've done it with their other games as well. But Ghost of Yotei has like a multiplayer expansion coming. I think that kind of move is much more sensible, and I think
absolutely
a much better idea to pursue than trying to launch a standalone thing that takes a user away from something else.
Well, what you do is you test the waters with these type of modes first, like Legends in Ghost of Tsushima and Yotes. You test the waters with, right, how do we get multiplayer to work and make sense? So we try this first. When that goes, then you go, right, how do we expand upon this and make it better?
Yeah.
And again, you could have done that with Horizon Forbidden West, which makes a bit more sense. Okay, we've got this big open world, we can make this co-op. Like you can with Avatar, or you can with any Ubisoft game. We can make this a co-op environment where you are another random NPC.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Avatar has co-op, yeah.
But they don't do that. They go like, it's either all in or nothing. So we'll just this IP live service doesn't make much sense. So how does that make sense? How does that universe make sense in live service? Like we've mentioned, Elder Scrolls makes sense as a live service because everyone can be whatever they want to be. Fallout makes sense because everybody can be whatever they want to be, and you can create your settlements. Sea of Thieves makes sense because everyone's a pirate. You can just go and be a pirate. Forza makes sense because everyone can go and get the cars and collect cars and race each other and drive around in the open world. Fine.
The Last of Us Online made sense. I'm still annoyed about it. Like I'm
What?
just hoping that State of Decay 3 scratches that same itch that TLU Online was supposed to. But
Yeah. But
I will say
there's-
Arc Raiders feels quite close in a lot of ways to the type of experience. Obviously, it's a different sort of genre, different kind of setup. But I quite
mean,
liked
one
that.
thing
The
I
thing
will
is,
give,
Arc Raiders is one of the
State of Decay-
very few examples that prove the rule that it's really hard to make a successful live service game in the year 25, 26 now. People are already so heavily invested in their go-to game, whether it's a Fortnite or a Warzone or whatever, that barely you will not bring out or move away a Fortnite player who has invested probably thousands of dollars or euros into skins and everything to play a God of War live service game that they are not invested in. It's the fight for time and money, and it's really, really hard. And the biggest IPs have failed in doing that, right? We had the Avengers game, we had Suicide Squad, we had all those games, Concord, miserably, failed.
Even a game you're looking forward to is switched from being a live service MMO game to single player.
Crimson Desert, right? And now Arc Raiders came out, and surprisingly found this massive success. But that's a unicorn in that landscape, right? And they still have to prove that they will be here in a year from now or 2 years from now, which is what a games as a service title is built for. There's
no guarantee that it will be there in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
It's all so fluid and fickle. It's
exactly.
a really challenging environment.
And so chasing this trend of games as a service titles, and with that also PlayStation is risking the most valuable thing that they have, and that is the IP. Everyone loves God of War. You bring out a miserable games as a service title, it will stick to the name God of War. God of War would then not be a name for quality anymore, right? And the same goes for Spider-Man and Uncharted and whatever. And so this was from the get-go a bad idea, and it's just so unfortunate for these great studios that now suffer from those poor decisions made. All right, guys. We are 3 hours into this show. Let's wrap this here up. I want to say,
a good chat.
Yeah, it has been, absolutely. It's been a blast, Deadly Headley. Thank you so much for coming on. Let me also thank the community here. First of all, of course, Pyro, Matt, who sponsored the giveaway here today. Congratulations to Stormplayer for winning it. Check your DMs, bro. I've sent it to you, the code. And Deadly, again, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute blast with you here. Before we let everyone out, let everyone know where they can find you, what you've coming up, man.
So you can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, which I haven't been using very much at the moment, to be fair. You can also find content that I make on YouTube. Again, haven't made anything in a while, and full disclosure, I have a 3.5-week-old baby at home, and I'm about to start a new job, so I'm not going to lie, the chances of me putting out a video anytime soon are quite slim. But I'm still really proud of the content that I put on there. The most recent one that I've got on there was talking about the state of Xbox after putting Halo on PlayStation, what that means for the Halo IP, what that means for Xbox, what it means for PlayStation, that sort of stuff. If you haven't watched it, go and check that out.
Absolutely.
It's probably my favorite video in terms of like the editing and sort of production value and stuff like that. I've really enjoyed that. So
what I truly do love about your content is it is not about pumping out video after video, but it is always very well thought out, with very reasonable and logic argumentations in it. You barely find that on any other channel that just pumps out content after content. And And
Yeah.
that's
I think there's
that's
two things. I do take my time with stuff, like I rather than pump out loads and loads of content. If there's a bit that I want to make content on and I've got the time to, then yeah, I will just put my focus into the bit of content that I want to make. But also I have a degree in journalism, so that sort of approach towards bias and balance is a really important part of the content that I make. Like I'm a very like pro Xbox person, but at the same time I'll also present that argument as to why Xbox is doing stuff that some of its community doesn't like, what that might do for the IP, and sort of where the pros and cons are, and exploring that. So yeah, if you like that sort of discussion and you don't know my content, then yeah, go and check that out on YouTube.
absolutely highly recommended. I will put the link in the show notes here. We'll do the same, by the way, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts if you're listening there. So again, Hadley, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. Great discussion here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time since we've hung out. So yeah, I'm glad that we could, especially after a crazy week. I know you hit me up like just as the news broke, going, "Hey, can we do like an emergency show or something?" Which I wasn't available for. But actually, I'm glad that we've been able to let all the dust settle. We've had the Asha Sharma interview with Jez Corden. Shout out to him for a great interview, landing
Absolutely.
that. I know he's caught some heat, which I don't think was very fair, and actually a quite disrespectful, if I'm being brutally honest. But
honestly,
yeah, good for him, man. It's a good get. It was a really solid exclusive that any other outlet could have grabbed, but Jez got it. So big up to him for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And he did, I think, quite well, because
I think he did too.
This whole discourse about him not asking the right questions and everything is so ridiculous. What would you ask a person who is
what are you going to ask on day one, man?
Yeah. So
first day of the job, are exclusives going away?
Yes, exactly. So
come on.
No. All right, Dutch. Any last words from you?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, as you mentioned there, about getting shit for not asking hard questions, but it was from a particular other show that give him shit for it.
Yeah.
That also never asked hard questions.
Did not ask hard questions.
And every time they've ever done the same thing, they've never asked hard questions. I'm like, don't be hypocrites. Yeah. Every time you've contradicted and said this to someone, they don't ask the hard stuff.
Yeah.
And they get them on, and they're just like, so why are you putting the exclusive elsewhere? Like, this is why. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't really a hard question, was it? Come on. It's the same thing over and over again. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, dear. Yeah, no, I like, without trying to downplay Jess's work, I again, based on someone who does have some experience in journalism and does have education around that, I can't have seen many other interviews going a different way.
Yeah.
A lot of those responses that Asha Sharma will have given, some of those will have been pre-prepared, especially the plan is the plan until it's not the plan. You can tell she's rehearsed that because it's nonsense. I don't know, man. Like, the vitriol in this community, especially towards anybody who does like Xbox, is unfortunately kind of gross at the moment.
That's very true.
And I think, if you do like Xbox, you are an Xbox player, you do have to just ignore it and be like, it's just sad pricks with very little time on their hands.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. Again, a big thank you to this awesome community, to the very generous Pyromat for gifting the code for Dragon Ball. We will be back here next week, next Thursday, regular time, 2 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. UK time, 8 p.m. Central Europe. And the weekend is near. I'm looking forward to play Resident Evil. I hope you guys do enjoy your games as well. Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. And don't forget to game on.